Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another Room Rumble. It's been a while, but this one was set up by Lupin, a Christian that I knew from. I was associated with Proverbs guys, which aren't really anything to aspire to, and he sort of got me on YouTube comments asking for a interview slash discussion. He really didn't want to debate, and that sometimes raises red flags with me, sometimes not. But since he was sort of chest beating, it does always raise some flags if you're basically crowing about how good you are, but you don't actually want to debate these topics. So he's a young earth fundamentalist Christian who, while he wants me to come on his channel, he seems very reticent, very hesitant to come onto mine or anybody else's or have a moderator. So I decided to give him enough time to go onto his channel. I think that all in all, his performance was abysmal. To say abysmal is an understatement. Arguments like, well, we've got the term AD, so therefore everything about Christianity is correct. Sort of that level of argumentation is pretty terrible. His understanding of evolution is poor at best. He really doesn't understand much about it at all. And sort of, he really is just trying to make a name for himself with Hovindisms, essentially. So I want to give a big shout out to AtheistJr, who was in there when I went in there. And the weird thing is when I showed up, I didn't really have a problem with any of my fellow atheists being there. But sort of when you make let's have a one-on-one discussion, let's have a discussion kind of thing, and sort of the obnoxiousness in the way that he made this sort of appointment. I said I had this time. He's sort of saying, well, I've got right now, come right now. And, you know, we've got things to do. We've got projects on. We've got recordings to do. So he doesn't seem to understand it. It is one of the most chaotic kind of appointments I've ever made. But for him to sort of schedule something else and expect me to then accept that he's got something else scheduled is kind of, it's really bad. Like, I don't think he's ever actually worked at a job where you make appointments with people or you make meetings with people and then go and have that discussion with, you know, your opposite in a company or your peer in a company, your colleagues kind of thing. Or you make a meeting between people and, you know, you're expected to go there at that meeting. I don't think he's ever done that in his life, because it was sort of telling that his idea of some sort of meeting and discussion was, we'll come around at this rough time. Very, very strange. But sort of talking with him, he seemed to go from topic to topic. Every time he got pinned, he just changed the topic. And I really wanted to pin him down on some of this stuff. But some of the stuff he said was pretty bad. All in all, he behaved better than I expected. I will give him that. He definitely was more cordial than I expected, even though at times it was definitely on the line. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'll ever, I really want to engage with him again. And certainly on perhaps my channel this time, not where he gets to go away and do his thing. I think some of the things that happened, I cut out. Like at one point, he just played music because he wanted to go and fill up a drink or something. So be aware I did chop that out. But apart from things like that, I'm going to leave it pretty much completely unedited so you can see sort of the ridiculousness that I got into with this one. But yeah, this is Lupin, and let's get ready to rumble.
He's allowed it to happen. Okay, we got Mark Reid in here too.
Yes, tell me.
Hello, Mark Reid.
Can you guys hear me?
You're looking very festive.
Yeah,
you
look very festive. Thank you. Hello. I thought this was supposed to be a one-on-one between me and you, Lupin, that you're asking for over and over and over. So, I'm
What
not
do you
sure
mean?
what happened there?
What do you mean over and over and over again?
Well, you sort of got on that message and sort of said, you know, that you wanted me on here and to drop everything and come on kind of thing so we can have a one-on-one. And I said tonight's the only night that I've got free, or really it's my morning, because.
Okay, so you want me to kick these guys out of here and then we can have a conversation? It don't matter to
No,
me.
no.
I can switch it up.
No, what I'm sort of saying is that it seems to be really badly organized.
Terribly organized.
Yeah, I usually have a bit more organization in what I'm doing. Like if you want to have a one-on-one, then yeah, give me 1 sec and I'll just grab something. But no, I mean I don't want anybody to be kicked out. Absolutely not.
Well,
can
you guys hear me now? The truth is, I didn't know if you were going to respond, and I asked you to set it up. I didn't see anything on your channel. I thought you would set it up, and I figured I'd let you just set it up because you had the time zones figured out.
You said you didn't want to come on my channel, and you wanted me on your channel, Lupin. I invited you on my channel multiple times, and you said no, come on my channel.
Well, you could always stream share, but whatever. That's fine. That's fine. You're here now.
It's really weird, Lupin, because you keep saying these things to when I suggest things, and then when I do them, you're like, well, I expected you to do the original thing that I didn't want to do. It's like, well, make up your mind.
To be honest, I thought it was going to be a little bit later that you were going to be on. I was expecting you to be on for at around 9:00, which would be in around 2 more hours. You just kind of said,
he's in Australia, right?
Yeah, I do know. That's why it's complicated.
Completely time zone.
I know.
It's not that complicated.
Why would you expect him to be on in the evening of Texas time?
Because we sent messages to each other in comments that you're not aware of. So
usually these things are organized by email or Discord.
Well, I don't mess with email.
Well, see, Lupin, the problem is I couldn't get a time out of you, right? You didn't give any time whatsoever.
Okay. So that's fine. If you want,
I'm here now.
Do you want to? Okay. So here's what we could do. Since you're here now, perfect. Okay. Do you want to have that conversation, that one-on-one conversation, in an hour, at 8? For me, it would be 8:00, and then I could just wrap this up, and then I'll just focus on that one-on-one. Or do you want me to kick these people out now?
No, I don't want anybody kicked out. I'm more than happy to hang around. That's not a problem.
What were you guys going to talk about?
Evolution, probably.
He was apparently. Let me just read out this comment that started it off. Mark Reid is more of a coward than expected. For someone who thinks they are so intellectually superior, he can't hang with a Christian simpleton as myself. Should be easy. Yeah, simpleton as myself. I don't think that's grammatically correct, but that's okay. I should be easy. Well, no, misspelling isn't grammar, dude. Anyway, I should be easy work, but let's be honest, he's gonna say I'm not worth the time. What that really means is I, Mark Reid, don't want to risk making myself look like a clown even more than I already do.
Yeah, sounds about right.
It's a long preamble. It's a lot of posturing.
Maybe.
No, it is.
Yeah, so I formally challenged you to a debate saying, okay, tough guy, I formally challenge you to a debate on evolution. Bring your best arguments and your evidence that will show that I am wrong. Time for you to front up if you're going to talk big and show that you are not an abject coward by accepting a debate challenge. Or are you a cowardly little man who cannot step into the ring? I'll await your response, tough guy. And then you said,
"Jeez,
tough guy." You said, "No, we're about to throw bones."
Yeah. And then you said, "Whenever, wherever, God bless." Yeah. I can host a show for 1 or 2 hours. Both can freely use on each channel. Want to run something today? I have the majority of the day, night open. And I said, I have stuff to do tomorrow morning. Don't forget, I'm not in your time zone. Next opening I have is Thursday morning, Australian Western Standard Time.
Right, yeah. So there's a line of communication that we have. So now we are here now. So do you want to have a conversation in an hour about evolution?
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine.
Because that'll make it easier. Because this was kind of separate from your whole conversation. This is a totally different thing. So I'm glad that you joined in. Honestly, this is how I kind of planned this out. You see, you don't think I didn't really plan this out too much, but I figured it'd be a lot better for you to just join, and then we just kind of just talk and say, okay, you got an hour and 30 minutes rather than trying to work out the time zone and different day and whatnot. So I'm glad you came in.
That's a
You
terrible
plan
way
for
to plan
Mark to
things
join
out.
this stream? You
Okay.
plan for Mark to join right now?
No, I didn't plan for Mark to join right now.
Oh,
Look, hey, AJ, have I ever said that I would do something and not followed through on it?
never that I've seen.
Okay. Well, like I said, I don't know.
Like we organize streams where it's me, Mark, and Grayson, which is 3 people, and
What?
it's me and Grayson are in the same time zone, but organizing that is really like hard because of everybody's schedule. But we've done like 3 or 4 of those streams.
Yeah,
and
not only
never
that,
had
but
a schedule.
you're also setting something up on Christmas, and like things just kind of change. Within,
No, Lupin,
for us, it's
you're setting
Christmas.
something up on Christmas.
You
You're
said
setting
all I
something up
have.
on
You
Christmas.
said all I have is available is the 25th.
Is that what I said?
Was it 25th or 24th?
Is that what I said?
I don't
Or
remember.
did I say?
I don't remember. Look, I'll talk to you in an hour, man. Get ready to talk about evolution.
Yeah.
How
So
about
what I
that?
said is the earliest I have is this time.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, what you guys should just just do it now. And Mark's here. Like, why? I mean,
Because
going over like the email correspondence is not that interesting.
I want to finish this video up because I thought it was pretty funny.
What video? Were you watching my video?
Yeah, the video because you miss a mark a lot, and then that way, while I'm doing that, I could bring up my a couple of informationals that I have regarding evolution because I think that's
it's
what
a
we're going to
word.
be talking.
Is that a word?
Informationals? I don't know. Maybe I'll make it one.
I mean, I guess all words are technically made up, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
Ooga booga biggity boo.
Well,
Those are sounds.
You said I missed the mark. What about how you charge people when they hurt you get your feelings hurt?
Oh yeah, you still don't get that one. That's funny. That's funny.
No, people insult you on your stream. You get your feelings hurt, and then you want to charge them money for it.
No. You don't. Like I said, if you don't understand it now, then I'm not going to explain it to you again. I've already explained it to you 5 times.
People insult you, and then you charge them by the insult, and they run into a debt, right? Is that not what you do? Yeah, it's not what you do.
No. I'll let you insult me on the in the chat, okay? But if you're the type of person that wants to insult me and then come on my show and then like actually use up airtime, then I'm not gonna let somebody who's just disrespectful on my show, all lottie dotty, all the time, and they just have that's all they do is just talk shit in the comments. And if you're upset with the way that I handle that, well then, I mean, tough titties, dude. That's just the way.
I'm not upset about it. I just find it kind of laughable.
Okay, well then that's fine. Glad to provide you a laugh.
Yeah. I don't have buyer's remorse for spending the money to have Christian Pike come on your show. I thought it was money well spent.
Yeah,
it was totally worth it. And Big Bad Mama paid me back like immediately anyway.
That's good. All right, I'm gonna continue playing this video. I'll show you where you missed some marks. Okay.
I mean, I was hoping I could correct you on all of your mistakes and lies about abortion, because that's what you and Kentucky AJ were talking about.
I mean, we're not gonna just sit here and focus. We're not. Abortion wasn't even a part of this video. Like you guys brought up abortion. You guys are trying to bring up bodily autonomy, and I'm saying that's fine. That's fine. I don't care if the girl wants to be a slut and sleep with 100 dudes. That's fine. If she wants to do that, she can do that. Whatever.
That's not why women get abortions, though.
Yeah, Lupin,
see, you're again just confusing the argument.
You said you wanted us all here at the same time, Lupin, so you could make us whatever you said intellectual bullshit.
Right. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, but I'm not gonna let you take over the show. I'm still gonna maintain control over it. So let's just play it, and then we'll just play it by ear. I tried not to cuss at times, but sometimes I do. But it's gotten very rare. I don't like to fight too much or like bash people to a point where it's just like insulting or just rude.
That's a fucking lie. That's a fucking lie right there, dude. Oh, you curse. Who cares? That doesn't make you a bad person. What makes you a bad person is that you're an alcoholic, liar, degenerate, fucking fat.
Okay.
That was rude.
Yeah.
Piece of shit. And a pussy.
Rude. I like to. I mean, AJ. To be honest, I expect that from you, so it's okay.
Well, it's not on your stream, so you can't. You can't charge me for it.
It's not. No. Like I said, I give you atheists. I honestly give you a lot more leeway whenever it comes to being kind of a dummy. I give you guys a lot more of a leeway than I do some Christians because I hold Christians to a higher standard.
Just
to attack their arguments over, just their character, and I destroy him all the time. So now it's kind of like I've been put in a position.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Debate Grayson on Standing for Truth in a full 2-hour debate. What's the evidence for evolution? Is there a good evidence for evolution? Grayson will argue the positive. You'll argue the negative. Do it. You won't. You would lose because you're stupid. I shouldn't say that. You're not stupid, Lupin, but you're uneducated on evolution.
Where,
see, that was charitable.
Well, no, I mean I don't believe in evolution because I think it's a lie.
You don't understand.
And
yeah, but I took back my insult though.
That's fine.
Can we get a quick definition of evolution then?
No. I would like for you to tell me what evolution is. Tell me what macroevolution is.
That's kind of a dodge.
You've just said that you understand evolution, so can I get a quick definition? Like, if you understand it, you certainly should be able to define it, right?
Yeah, evolution.
He doesn't believe it.
Evolution, they say, is change over time.
Is change over time?
That's too general. I think that's pretty vague.
Well, I think that. I mean,
the first definition of the word, the very first definition, technically.
Well, see, the problem is that
I don't want to get into the whole evolution thing right just yet because I think me and Mark are going to just have a conversation about that. Okay. So, I mean, like I said, it'll get redundant if we start getting off on that track, and then it's going to be like, why are we talking about this again? It's just like, whatever. By the way, everybody really needs to go and check out She Roasts and Cooks channel. I'm going to get a refill of my alcoholic beverage of choice, if you guys don't mind. But let me go ahead and just entertain you guys a little bit here.
Well, shit. Then I'll make one too in your honor, then, Lupin.
Okay, make it a double.
I'll say why you're the poster child for why people shouldn't drink.
Okay.
Well, instead of dead air, then I'll talk about the definition you gave. The problem with that is that you're describing any physical change over time, which isn't necessarily evolution, like a erosion, say, of some kind of sandstone boulder is change over time. It doesn't mean that is actually evolution. That is just a change happening as per the laws of physics in our reality. So the definition encapsulates just about anything that happens ever, because any event is a change in some kind of state over time.
Okay, fine. Change over time through genetic transfer of organic and I don't know, sexual creatures, whatever.
Oh, wow.
Like I said, yeah, that's just me basically at 3 a.m. whenever I should be asleep. Just watching Chef Roast and Gag cooking like a freaking casserole or something like that, just laughing mad crazy. But yeah, anyway, what were we talking about now? Should I just play this video so we can just continue? I really don't want to talk too much about evolution. Like I said, right now at this point, since we're gonna have a whole dedicated conversation to it.
I mean, it just seems like you're not allowing the conversation to just flow naturally, and you're just stifling it to play a video of me talking when I'm here on the stream. I just don't understand why you want
because you're just talking out the side of your neck, man. What you're saying.
Okay, well, what is it? Okay, well
true.
then why don't you confront me about what
that's what I'm doing
in the
right
video
now.
and talk to me instead of us watching the video?
Because I have to watch the video to get to the point wherever I found you talking out your neck. Because I don't remember every single. I didn't write down the timestamps for it, bro.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just reviewing it.
Okay.
So let's just continue.
It seems. I think you're scared to talk to Mark about evolution. I think you're scared.
No, I just don't want to have. I just don't want it to, like I say, be redundant.
You're a chicken.
No, look. I'm not forcing the issue. It's fine if you want to talk about whatever. Your conversation was about abortion. You don't want to talk about that anymore, it seems. That's fine.
It wasn't even about abortion.
Yeah.
They brought up abortion.
What's it about, Lupin?
What do you want to talk about?
Huh? Well, what we were talking about was just I was talking about bodily autonomy, and I said, yeah, that woman has bodily autonomy to get digged down by 100 dudes. If she chooses to do that, and those dudes choose to participate, everyone has bodily autonomy. That's fine. But she's exposing.
That's about consent.
Yeah,
I mean,
no. See, now you're throwing in another wrench. Look, it's bodily.
No, I'm not.
It's bodily.
The issue is about consent.
Yeah, and they all consented to it. Nobody's arguing. No one's bringing consent into this. It was all consensual. We get it. Like, why are you even bringing?
I think you're because you're confusing the issue.
No, I'm not. You're just being either purposely dumb or just like unknowingly dumb.
You're not talking about the subject, because when we talk about things like bodily autonomy, you're sort of saying, well, the abortion question is one of whether she should be forced to carry the child to term.
Exactly.
We're not talking. We were not talking about abortion.
You cannot separate the issue of bodily autonomy without talking about abortion, though.
No,
you can't say, I'm not going to talk about it. It's ridiculous. I mean, yeah, but they're very closely related. It just
okay. Well, we both agree that people should be able to have sex with whoever they like, and yes, that's bodily autonomy.
That is your bodily autonomy, yes.
Right, but what's the point then? I mean, if we agree, then
none of us. Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what we're talking about? Because you just kind of came in mid-conversation, so are you even aware of what we're discussing?
That's why I'm asking. It's a question.
Okay, so you're asking because you're not caught up.
No, you just explained it though. It's about the.
I'm not talking to you right now, AJ.
Ridiculous concept of.
I'm not talking to you.
You're not talking to me.
No, Mark Reid.
But I'm in the panel.
Do you know what we're even talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I presume it was about whether a woman should carry a child to term if they took.
No, that's
okay.
Not.
So
let me expound. Let me explain it to you so you don't get it confused. They brought up abortion for this event that happened recently, which, like I said, they're two separate events. This one woman decided to have sex with 100 or 101 dudes in one night. And I said, okay.
Yeah, that definitely happened. That definitely is a thing that actually happened.
Yeah, it's happened before.
And do you think this is a common thing that happens with a lot of women, like on a regular basis? Do you think this is something that happens a lot?
So I'd like to get to the point. Like, I don't see a point to all of this.
My point is, she has every right to make that decision.
Sure.
She exposes herself to a lot of dangerous situations. There could be pregnancy, even if you do take precautions. Condoms can break. Pregnancy pills can fail. That doesn't include
pregnancy pills.
Pregnancy pills. If you
birth control,
NuvaRing, whatever, birth control.
I don't get what birth control's got to do if you're not talking about the abortion debate.
They brought up the abortion debate. Like, I didn't bring it up.
Can you get to your point? Because you're not saying anything.
Yeah, my point was she has every right to do it.
And we agree.
Yes.
Yeah,
and we agree.
Yeah, some people may see her as a slut, and I mean, so what? She.
Well, I don't think that's helpful.
She's gonna have to deal with the consequences. But anyway, like I said.
Okay, so what are the consequences? Okay, no. Hey, Jay, I've got to get to the point here because you're not saying anything.
There's a lot of consequences. There
like
can be
what?
Like mental consequences. If she does contract an STD, her reputation being ruined. There are a lot of consequences.
So what are you saying? Are you saying that
I'm saying that that's unfortunate.
Hang on, Lupin, let me finish. Are you saying that people ought not to be allowed allowed to do anything that's dangerous if there are negative consequences to it.
What? How on earth do you even extrapolate that from what I'm saying? You were taking that to an
Because you
extreme.
said the girl
No.
is doing something
She-
that
she-
is dangerous
she's
and there are
doing-
negative consequences. That's how I got to it, because that's exactly what you said.
It's a very explicitly sexual, perverted.
It doesn't matter.
It does.
doesn't
It
matter.
does matter.
No, it doesn't
It does
matter. That's
matter.
just a biological function. It's the same as if
Yeah.
you drink alcohol, for instance. If you drink alcohol, which is a poison, I might add, there are a lot of negative consequences, or can be a lot of negative consequences for that. That doesn't necessarily mean that you ought not to be allowed to drink alcohol, because there are negative consequences. Because you have a responsibility to manage those negative consequences. That's it.
Okay, and so look, she can do whatever she wants. Like I said, if she wants to do
Right.
that, that's fine. She exposes
Yes.
herself to a lot of risk. Okay.
Well, it depends on what she does, but yeah, it may be more risky than not doing it. Correct. Yes.
Yeah, if you're sleeping with 100 dudes a day, it only takes one dude to fuck your life up forever. You know that you could get a disease that's uncurable, untreatable. So
Okay.
yeah, you are increasing that probability. Am I correct in that thinking?
Right. Like if you're going mountain biking, right?
Correct, yes.
You are, and
You-
you're doing
you're-
it all the time.
Mhm.
You've got a much higher risk of, say, breaking your neck or breaking
Right,
your bone, or
sure.
breaking your spine and being confined to a wheelchair.
Sure.
That's inherently a dangerous thing to do.
Sure.
So
It is.
what's your point?
My point my point is we're just talking about a woman that decided to do that, and
Do you
the
think
consequences.
this is a common thing that happens, or do you think this is a rare instance that is unheard of, and that's why so many people are shocked about this?
AJ, I remember this happening like before the internet took flight. I read articles about it. It's happened far. Is it a very common thing? I would hope it's not as common as I think.
How common do you think it is for women to have sex with 100 men in one day?
I mean, I don't know.
How many times do you think it happens globally in 1 year?
I know there's some women that will do
I'm
it.
looking for a number.
I don't have a number for you.
Just like give it, like, what would be, is it less than 10? Or is it more than 10?
Less than 10 what?
Less than 10 instances of one woman having sex with 100 men in one night. I'm talking about globally over the course of a year. Do you think it happens more or less than 10 times?
Oh, I mean, over a year?
Yeah.
A woman having sex with 100 dudes?
Yeah. In one night.
The world is very dark.
I'd say it's very rare.
The world is bleak.
Rare.
Are we
I'm
talking
looking for an
about,
over or under. Just say over or under.
Are we including sex slaves and sex traffic, like women
Okay.
that are
Yeah.
sex
No, I'm
trafficked?
talking about a
that-
woman choosing to do it.
Women that are
Yeah, 'cause
choosing to do it.
One woman
That's not
choosing to do it.
what we're talking
over or
about.
under.
Yeah, we're not talking about someone else compelling her, because you already
Well,
made it
he
clear
just said
that she
he
decided
just
to do it.
he asked
No.
me,
Let's not get away
Alright,
with
I
it. I think
clarified.
we can all say
not-
that this is not a common thing to happen.
I don't even
It is
believe
not.
that she actually did this. I don't even believe her, Lupin.
Oh
I think
well,
I think she's exaggerating. Because
I
this is
don't- I don't-
ridiculous.
I know women have done it that have had more than what she have had. in
You
one
know,
day.
you personally know women that have done
Yeah,
that?
I looked it up. I looked it up with some article. I looked up some articles, and I remember hearing it. I remember watching this. It was way back whenever I was young, dude. Like, this isn't nothing new. Is it common? No. I don't think it's
Okay,
anything-
well,
it shouldn't
why-
be. It shouldn't
I just want an
as a-
over or under.
as a Christian, I don't think it should be glorified. I don't think it should be commended. I don't think this is empowering women. I don't think this is positive in any sense, in any form or sense. Does
Yeah,
a
you're
person
dodging my question.
Does-
You're dodging my question.
does a person have a right to do that? Absolutely.
Stop
They have a
dodging my
right.
question, though.
What's your question?
Over or under 10, more than or less than 10 instances of this happening globally in a year?
Probably over. I don't know.
Okay.
Because this world is dark.
Okay.
This
Dude.
world is dark.
Yeah,
I think you
don't
have
know
a
about
very
that one,
low
but-
opinion of women, Lupin. I really have. I think you have a very.
I have a
warped
low
view
opinion of women.
I
Okay,
think you have a
well,
very warped view of women.
I'm sorry. I'm just taking what this one woman does. I hope.
Yeah, one woman.
Yeah, but I've also been to strip clubs. I've also been in orgies. I've partaken in orgies.
You've been in orgies. How many orgies have you been in, Lupin? How many orgies?
Just one. It was highly uncomfortable.
Okay. Was it at P. Diddy's house?
No, but I mean,
No.
hey,
Okay.
you bring up P Diddy. Who
You're
knows
such a
how
liar.
many?
You're literally such a liar.
You brought up an excellent point that kind of destroys your thing. How many people do you think that they could probably do that on a daily basis at a place like P Diddy's?
No, I don't. I think that's ridiculous.
I think they could, and yeah, Lisa Sparks.
I mean, you're saying they could. Jesus.
I don't
Wow.
I don't get the point to any of this.
Yeah, this is just stupid.
Really
This just
don't.
seems like an excuse for you to just kind of slut shame women, Lupin.
Yeah, what I'm hearing.
Slut shame.
Look, I've been very quiet. What I've been hearing is basically that a woman does something out of her own choice, which may have a risk factor that you don't think is acceptable, and you think you should be able to call her names and denigrate her because she is taking a risk in a way that you find unacceptable. But what I don't hear is any reason why you have the right to denigrate that person, because you might be taking risks that they find unacceptable.
Sure. Okay, Mark, would you get with a woman that's been with 100 men in one day?
Sure. Why not?
Would you marry her?
Well, it depends who they are, but sure, I'm already married, so I wouldn't now. But if, I was single and I loved that woman and they loved me, then yeah, why not?
Okay. Now, would that be your first choice?
What do you mean my first choice? I'm not basing who I marry on how many people they've slept with. I'm basing it on them. Let me finish. 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 Let me finish.
But it's just
my criteria. My criteria for somebody
is
I'm going
complex.
to have a relationship. Well, of course. Well, it's not really that complex. It's more their personality.
It has layers. It's personality. Look,
you're over talking.
I know, but I know what he's gonna say. I know what he's gonna say.
I don't think you do.
But I don't think everybody out there does. That's the whole point. That's the reason why we have these online. It's because people want to hear different opinions, and if you don't want to hear my opinion, then why am I here?
Let me just give you just a yes or no question, and then I'll let you talk. Okay.
I don't like yes or no questions.
He'll let him talk. Let him talk. Okay.
If a woman says that she slept with 100 dudes in one day, would that give you concerns on her thought process, or whether or not you'd want to be with that? If she told you, if a woman told you that, would that would that be an issue? Would that be an issue with you? Honestly,
not necessarily. Not necessarily. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think that it depends on what kind of a person that she is. If she is a kind, gentle, nice person and did all of that kind of thing, I don't shame people for things like that.
Sure, okay.
So what? Well, she had a past. It's the same as me saying, well, if a girl said that she was in prison, would you instantly say, no, I'm not gonna have anything to do with this person?
Prison for what?
Oh, let's say tax evasion, for instance.
Or a nonviolent crime.
Oh, no, I think
tax evasion.
I think tax evasion is theft, so I would respect that woman more.
But that's inherently risky behavior, right? Prison is a risky place to be.
I mean, to me, it's what gets you in prison that's more important. Like, if a woman murdered, her ex-husband because he cheated on her, and then, she went to prison for that, yeah, I would think, do I want to take a chance and marry this woman?
Yeah, it's almost like the person that she is today is more important than the things that she did in the past, right,
Sure,
Lupin?
she can change. She can change. Like I said, but I mean, we make thoughts and considerations whenever we're choosing partners. I very well said, hey, there will be men that will overlook this period in her life, which is a young woman. She's 23 years old. There will be men that will overlook this period in life and say, hey, you know what? I get that she went through this phase. I'm not sure what made her go through it. Maybe she was a nymphomaniac. Maybe she was
She
addicted to
was doing
sex.
it for OnlyFans content.
Maybe she was.
There's a very
Maybe she
specific
was.
reason.
Maybe she was doing it for money. I will overlook all of that because
It's not a maybe. She specifically was doing it for money. For
what I'm wondering, Lupin, is why is it like, why are you framing it like the guy has got to give his approval kind of thing? Like, why is this suddenly this man has to give approval for her to be with him?
Like, she's lucky enough that he would look past her disgusting flaws. That's like how Lupin must think that Ken Hovind is a thief.
That's a big doozy. You know, if a woman sprung that on me, it would cause me to think.
Well, that's you. Other people just go, okay, well, I've done wrong things in the past.
Well, God bless them.
You know, and I'm not even sure that it's a wrong thing to do. I think that some people are put in a position where the best way they can make themselves financially stable is participate in the sex industry. I don't think that. I think that that's perfectly fine. I think that doesn't define a person. It doesn't make them who they are. I look beyond things in their past to say, hey, that is who you are.
Maybe that's where. Maybe that person is changing.
Maybe it is.
There's plenty of people that have been in the sex industry. They'll tell you, hey, people now label me as a certain person or a certain.
People like you, Lupin.
Exactly.
Well, no, it's just people in general do that. You're being
people like you.
Okay.
Have you ever been to the Netherlands? Have you ever been to the Netherlands?
No.
Okay, so the Netherlands have something called the red light district, and it's
if you are. I've been to red light district, sure.
Well, let me finish. So prostitution's very, very legal over there.
Sure.
It's not seen as something, and the Dutch have a very sort of progressive view about it. They sort of say, hey, these people are doing work. They need to be registered. They need to have restrictions on
unionized
regulations.
Protection from police.
Protect them from people that could take advantage of them or cause them harm, have protection from disease that may go around by having a set of regulations on how it's done. And they're not given the same stigma that other countries do. It's not seen as a respectable profession, you know, and by all means, I'm not going to lie and say that it is.
What do you mean that they don't have a stigma, but then it's not seen as a respectable? You can't have both. You know, the women are seen. The women are seen as whores.
Sure, you can.
The women are seen as whores.
No, they're not. No.
It's
degrees.
Like
you go over there to sleep with sluts.
Hold it. Would you agree with me that a trash collector is not a respectable profession by society standards, but there isn't a stigma around it?
Or a janitor?
No, I don't.
Or a janitor, right?
I think. No, I don't think there's any stigma for being a trash collector.
Do you think it's a respected profession in society?
I think it's under-respected.
I agree.
Yes, I do as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's degrees of stigma. So what he's saying is there's less stigma in these European countries. And it's a very similar thing with drugs over there in the red light district.
So we're getting way off topic. Let us make your final closing comments. And yes, we are. Yeah, we're getting into red light district. We're getting into profession, OnlyFans, anything.
It was directly relevant to the conversation.
It's all about the sex industry.
You guys have gone all the way to abortion, all the way to here. So make your final closing statements on this, and then we're going to just continue.
You brought this up. You led the discussion, Lupin. You were talking about the girl that had slept with 100 people a day. That is directly the sex industry. What are you talking about?
This is what I'm talking about. Lupin stifling the conversation and trying to control everything.
All right, so then I'll tell you what we're gonna do. Since you guys since you guys cannot just come up with your closing statement, what I'm gonna do is say shut the fuck up and then we're just going to continue playing this video until the next topic comes up, and we'll just start fresh from there.
No, I was going
Yeah,
to make
no, it doesn't matter what you think. All these guys want to do is just
Oh,
watch.
okay, dude.
You know,
well,
but,
you can go fuck
and then
yourself,
go on
Lupin.
another channel and talk about me. But they don't have the
Why don't you
courage
charge me for
to
that.
just come on my channel and speak to me
Here,
one-on-one
you're a
as
pussy.
a man. And like I
$5.
said,
Fuck
I'm
you,
going to be
Lupin,
one of the
$10.
nicest people. I'm your best
$15.
friend, whether you believe it or not. If you're an
No,
atheist,
AJ, that's
I'm your
not
best friend
constructive.
because it's okay. I
I
already muted want
him.
to see you saved.
I'll unmute him.
You know, you may not realize that you need to save.
Think you
I'll
did.
unmute.
I don't think
Just give me a thumbs up. Just give me a thumbs up whenever you're done. AJ, nobody can hear you. Don't waste your time. Just give me a thumbs up
well, I
whenever
could hear him.
whenever you're over your. You can't hear him.
Well, I could.
How?
Oh yeah, I can't now.
Yeah,
But I could
I
when
know.
he was insulting you, sure.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, give me a thumbs up if you can get over it. All right, you good? I'll let you get it out. All right. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna unmute you. Or at least try to unmute you. All right, here you go.
Well, just Lupin, just for some feedback, I think you're being very provocative in what you're doing, sort of in the way that you're trying to get people to get angry, so you can mute them, so you can.
Oh,
sort of
Mr.
say-
Provocative. I'm being provocative, Mr.
You're literally doing it right now.
Let's put Ken Hovind on a crucifix and make fun of him.
Well, I'm happy to.
over a lame game live stream, which
Who's
I mean was
changing it?
boring as hell.
Who's off topic now? Who's off
No,
topic
he said I was being provocative, and I'm calling,
Yeah.
and now I'm calling him out. You want to talk about provocative? You were
Mhm.
being provocative there. So what if I am trying to be provocative?
No, you're
Yeah,
just
well,
stifling
why
the
was I-
conversation.
Well, why was I being provocative, Lupin? Why was I
Because
actually doing that?
you were desperate for somebody to watch you play a lame game, and you hate Ken
Really?
Hovind and you hate Christians.
Really?
You do.
That's an exaggeration.
Is that? Do I hate all Christians? I hate all Christians.
I think you have something against Christ, so I think you do hate what Christ represents.
What,
You do
the-
I
hate
think Mark dislikes religion. I don't think he dislikes Christians
Um,
themselves.
I don't necessarily dislike all religion. I think I dislike fundamentalism because it is dogmatic and rigid, and
I don't
does
know what
terrible harm
what
to
is
people.
fundamentalism. What is it?
Fundamentalists fundamentally believe that the text is true, inherently true, and the sort of reading of it is true no matter how it conflicts with the reality we observe around us. So fundamentalists believe that if say, for instance, fundamentalist Muslims believe that if the Quran says that the moon was sliced in half, then the moon must have been sliced in half. There is no other way that it could have happened, even though we know that the moon was not sliced in half by anybody, including a guy flying on a horse up there or
And
whatever it
the,
was.
the death penalty for apostasy or for disrespecting the
Right.
prophet, which they
Because
carried
But
out.
that's their practice.
Not all
what do you mean their
Muslims.
practice?
Only
So
Yes,
fundamentalists.
the punishment for apostasy in Islam is death.
I don't disagree with you.
in the butts of the book says, yeah. That doesn't mean people have to do it just because the book says it.
Well, then, if they're not practicing, if they're not practicing it, then I mean, they shouldn't be in that religion.
Well, it says that in the Bible that the punishment for being gay is death as well. It also says the punishment for
What
being.
verse?
I can look it up. I believe it's in Deuteronomy.
Leviticus.
I
I think it's
believe
Leviticus 21.
Leviticus
So in
21.
Old Testament, that a man lives with another man, that man should be stoned or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The Bible does see homosexuality as an abomination.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
also says that if you have a young man who is a lazy and a drunkard, you should take them out in front of the temple and stone them to death.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's what they used to do. They used to do that. So what? I live in a different covenant. I live in the covenant of grace.
That's very convenient.
I didn't choose it. It just so happened that's how the universe came it willed it to be. How God just saw it to be. We should all be lucky that we're all under the covenant of grace.
I don't think I'm under any covenant, mate.
You
I
are,
don't
believe it or
Yeah,
not.
I'm not.
You were born
Yeah, don't believe it.
in this time period.
Yeah,
What year
not.
is it for you? What year?
I choose
Who,
not.
me?
Yeah, what year?
What year?
What year what?
What year is it for you right now?
It's still 2024. Like
It's still 2024. Okay,
What are you
so
talking about?
yeah, Jesus, the death of Jesus
Are
is
you in a different year, or
no,
I'm so confused.
The crucifixion of Jesus Christ is why
Uh-huh.
you live in this year. You're under the covenant of grace. You just don't accept it though. So
So you're saying because we count the year as AD and Anno Domini is the year of our Lord,
we
you
count
think that
yes.
shows that? Hang on. You think that shows that Christ was actually put to death and resurrected?
it's Leviticus 20:13. I was off.
Absolutely, yes. The fact that we live in the year that we live shows that Christ's death, burial, and resurrection had an impact so much that it changed practically the almost. Unless you could have some different cultures like Jewish culture see us in year 5,700 and something, whatever.
So what day is it for you, Lupin?
For me, today's the 25th.
Yeah, but I mean, what day of the week?
Wednesday.
Okay, so that comes from Woden's Day, which is actually related to the Norse
Okay, I
god
don't-
Woden.
Well,
That means that because we are referencing Odin, it had such an impact that Odin must have been real, and Thor must have been real, and all of these Norse gods must have been real.
I don't call it Woden's Day. I don't know anybody that calls it Woden's Day, but I know
No,
that
it's called Wednesday. It's an it's a Anglican version of the
Okay.
Germanic Woden's
Yeah,
Day.
that's the etymology of the word. Didn't
So
Lupin
who-
say
who-
earlier
That's
that
right.
Catholics aren't real Christians? Did Lupin say that?
Who uses Woden's Day? Who uses
We all
that?
do. We all do. It's
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Really,
It's where it
I've
comes
never
from.
used it. I've never used it. Never used it.
Well, you're using the modern form of the word, but that's the etymology
okay.
of it. That's how.
Well,
That's the etymology of it.
But Lupin, did you say earlier in the stream that Catholics, you don't count them as real Christians?
I say that
What I'm pointing out, just
Sorry.
1 second, I just want to make this
Yeah, go
clear.
ahead.
No, that's okay. I just want to make this clear. What I'm pointing out is that just because a word or a concept originates from something doesn't mean that that something is actually true or happened. You've got to show it happened and not just say, hey, people believed that, so they attributed that word or that concept to that thing. And so it must have happened. That doesn't follow. That's irrational. It's
so
illogical.
what do you want me to prove to you? The death, burial, and the resurrection?
Well, just the resurrection's fine.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
the
so
big
you
one.
want me to
Yeah.
prove the supernatural thing?
Sure. Why
Okay,
not?
well then you would have
I'd
to
love
go
that.
through. You would have to go through the witnesses.
Okay, so if you can't prove it or at least demonstrate it in some
Prove
way,
to
then
me-
why do you believe it?
Prove to me that King Kamehameha lived.
But Mark doesn't believe that as a dogmatic religion, though.
Who?
King
It's,
Kamehameha.
it's from Dragon Ball Z.
No,
Mark, isn't
it's
that the genetic fallacy what you're talking about?
Actually, King Kamehameha was a king in Hawaii.
Hawaii. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Prove to me George Washington lived.
well, we've got a whole bunch of documents from George
Pretty-
Washington.
Pretty sure we have
I
his
don't-
teeth too.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have his bones, and also we know that presidents are a thing. We know that presidents exist. We have presidents. We have
Yeah.
right now.
So, I mean, I, and if you don't want to believe in George Washington, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It
Oh, I
doesn't
do
really
believe.
worry
I do
me.
believe in George Washington. The same reason I believe in Jesus Christ, George Christ. No, Jesus Christ. The same
Okay.
reason. The same reason
So
why I believe
you've
in
got
Jesus
documents by
Christ.
Jesus Christ,
Hey,
do you?
why? We've gotten what he said written down.
But
Uh,
not.
We have
not-
multiple different.
But we're not talking about him saying stuff. We're talking about him being resurrected.
And this stuff was written after his death too. But Mark, what
No,
you were talking about,
it was
that
not
the
written
genetic
after
fallacy?
he was dead. No, he was written while he was
Yeah.
alive.
No.
What? No. What's the earliest gospel and what's it dated to?
It's a good question. I can find it for you.
I think it's.
It's Mark.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
when was it dated to? Around 70 AD or BCE, or sorry, CE.
So what's your point?
Well, it wasn't written when. Like, how old do you think Jesus got to? He wasn't 70 when he was allegedly killed.
He was 33.
Well, yeah. So how is a document that it dates to 70 AD written when he was alive?
Because you write
Well,
down,
he
write
came
down
back
the
to life,
document.
didn't
You write
Did he
down.
come back alive?
Okay.
he?
I mean, this is very simple. If I ask you to write down something,
Yes.
and I continue, I mean, and I continue. If you are my scribe, okay, and I tell you
Horrible.
to write down this, huh?
I said horrible, but sure, go ahead.
Oh, I know, completely terrible. Okay, if you're my scribe and I'm tasking you to write down the things I said, or write down the things I say, is that thing completed after the first thing that I told you? Is that done, or do you wait until things have been completed and you compile everything together?
Like 30 years later, 30 to 40 years later.
Oh, okay. So you want to ignore the fact that Christians were being hunted down. These people had to go into hiding.
I'm not ignoring anything.
Because
I am.
if you do that, then I mean that clearly that gives you a
Okay,
good reason why it would take a little while longer for it to be discovered, published, whatever you want to say, because they were being hunted down. And if they found those texts, most likely those texts would be destroyed, burned, and we would never have them to begin with.
When Mark
Okay,
writes down your words,
couple
does he include the slurring?
I don't
Well,
know.
just a second.
Okay.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, sure.
Look, a couple of points, 2 points. Number one, if you say, hey, they waited for a certain reason, right? They waited to write it down because of all these extraneous reasons. And don't get me wrong, I'm not pushing back on them necessarily. If you say they wait because it was dangerous, okay. But it still refutes your point that it was written down when Jesus was alive. That was the whole point. So you've just refuted yourself by saying, hey, they waited because it was dangerous. Number two, there isn't a scholar that really thinks that the manual from Mark is actually the original text.
Okay, so I believe Jesus spoke to the disciples, spoke to the apostles, spoke to groups. As he was speaking, the apostles would write these things down. Okay.
Okay, you believe it. So really,
yeah, I
I'm
do
not,
believe. I do
yes,
believe. There's going to be a lot of belief
Lupin.
in it, and if my belief isn't good enough for you,
Okay.
sorry, don't know what to tell you. I don't
Yeah,
believe. I don't. Well, that's fine. I don't believe we came from monkeys and apes. You can't prove it either. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, I mean,
I mean, I can demonstrate that to be the case, but
no, you can't.
You can believe whatever you want. I don't.
Exactly.
It doesn't really concern me.
Yeah. Exactly. You can't. No, you can't prove that we came from monkeys and apes. You could just say that. Oh,
why are you changing the subject?
Because you brought up belief.
No, I didn't. You said you believe that it was done at the time. And I sort of said, well, it doesn't matter what you believe. So we have this thing called epistemology, which is the reasons why you believe stuff, reasons why you know stuff. It's the justification for your beliefs. And so when I say something like, well, I believe Washington did exist because we have documents from him, we have his teeth, we have a mountain of records from various independent sources, like confirming that he exists. And you say, well, I believe that this was written in Jesus's time. And I say, well, why is that? And you sort of go, well, because I believe it. I don't think you've justified yourself epistemically for that belief. You've just sort of said, well, I believe it because I believe it.
I got distracted by the comments. My bad. So, so what is your issue? What is your issue like here? What are you trying? What is your point?
My
Can
point is that
can you
this
make it very
document.
clear and concise?
Okay, so my point is the document of Mark, that the very earliest manuscript that we found of Mark was not written in Jesus's time when he was alive, or presumably when he lived.
Do we know that 100% for a fact?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was dated to 70. Even the most conservative estimate of the date is 70. Most go 70 to 75 or so. We kind of can
How
date
was it
these
dated? How
things
was
by
it
other
dated?
texts. What do you mean? It was dated through contextual clues where it was found. But here's the thing, Lupin. No one thinks that document that we found is the original. There was the P and the Q documents. No one thinks that's the original.
Okay. So, right. So the original could have been the original.
We don't
very
know.
well. We don't
Yeah.
know. Okay. So yeah,
Could have
I mean,
been. Yeah, we don't know.
I go by faith. I go by faith, and I go by the Gospels. I go by their accounts, and they tell the same story. They have some slightly different details in each one, and I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. I recognize that I am three.
Okay, there's a lot
A
coming
form
out
of.
here. I'll just grab something to get this down. Sorry.
I do believe that I am, in essence, an example of a Trinitarian creation. I do believe that I have a body. I do believe I have a soul, and do believe that I have a spirit.
Okay, so
We are
for
and the Bible says that
okay.
we were created in man's image. Or we're not. I'm sorry. We're creating, and man is created in God's image. God is a triune being, and I see that in human beings.
Okay, so faith isn't really a good reason to believe anything. I could believe literally anything on faith, and people do. If somebody said, "Hey, I believe that," hold on, I'll let you talk, Lupin. Let me talk. If I believe that Muhammad split the moon in half on faith, that's not a very good reason for believing it. You can believe anything on faith. It's a terrible reason for believing anything. The whole thing of, well, I'm a Trinitarian creation and things like that. I mean, I don't know what to say to that. I don't know how you would demonstrate that you are a Trinitarian creation. I don't know how you would do that. So I don't think that that's a very good reason for believing it either, because you can't actually demonstrate that. And you sort of said, hey, I believe in the Bible, while we're discussing the Bible, which is a circular argument, because you're sort of saying, hey, I believe this was written in Jesus's time because of the Bible, but we're talking about when the Bible was written. You're basically using the document to say, hey, the document was written at this time, even though the document doesn't say when it was written. It simply recounts a story about Jesus's life.
I believe the Bible because it describes historical events, and those historical events have been shown to be evident and true and to have happened. I believe the Bible has a lot of credence whenever it comes to historical value. I think we use historical evidence to back up our belief in a certain thing regarding history.
So the Bible being historical, there's no doubt certain historical things that are in the Bible that are true. Like some of the cities it names, some of the events that happens, like Pontius Pilate was definitely the governor of that area during that time. There's no doubt about that from the independent documents. But just because something has, historical places and people in it, doesn't mean that everything about them is true. I mean, we're very, very certain that Troy was a place, but it doesn't mean that Achilles was running around, immune to arrows and things like that. It doesn't mean that all the supernatural things happened. And you sort of you say you give it credence, and I'm wondering what gives it credence. Because you've got a document here that isn't even the original, that was produced 70 years after the events. And we know that things change over time. They're made more grandiose.
God doesn't change over time.
How do you know that?
Because he says he doesn't. He says, you want me to pull up the quote?
I mean, you can. It's fine. It's just, so God has never changed his mind ever?
No, I never said he never changes his mind.
Mm.
For I am the Lord, I change not. That's in Malachi 3:6.
Okay. What's that got to do with the book being written at the same time as Jesus?
Well, that's Old Testament, so that wasn't written at the time of Jesus. But no, you just
No,
said
no. I'm talking about Mark. What has it got to do with the document of Mark? Because you said it was written while Jesus was still alive.
I believe that Mark. I believe that the words that Jesus spoke were written down as Jesus was alive.
Great. Why?
Because I mean, if you're gonna have direct quotes from a person, somebody had to listen and hear and write that down.
Do they?
I think you would agree. Yeah, I mean, can you provide me an alternative?
Yeah. That sort of these are oral traditions passed
Oh,
down, and
so it's
people.
passed down by oral tradition. Okay,
Sure.
okay, fair enough.
Like for instance, in so are you familiar with the long ending of Mark?
Um, no.
Okay, so Mark sort of the original documents ended before we found the current earliest manuscripts. The end of Mark ended at sort of Mark 20 or something like that. Like it ended far past where it ended today, but 9 to 20 was added later. Like the earliest documents of Mark don't have those passages in them.
Okay, I've heard of something like that. So what is that supposed to? What is that supposed to? Is that supposed to like cast doubt or something? You know, in
Well, what it means is that the church, the early church, added stuff to the Bible. It added stuff at the end of Mark. That the original text did not have that in it. And if you look at, say, the NIV, for instance, it will have a disclaimer sort of saying, hey, these passages weren't in the earliest manuscripts of Mark. What it means is that we can't be sure that all of the things written in the Bible are actually in the originals because we don't have the originals.
well, yeah, it's very well.
What is it? Mark 16? Mark
Let me
16, I think it is.
see. Well, what we do have is we have a number of copies that say more or less the same things, that may have been
Sure.
written down by different people at different times. Because, yes, there are oral traditions. And then we do have things like the Dead Sea Scrolls, which I believe are the closest that we have toward to Jesus's life, to his life, and we compare that to later texts, and we find that they say the same thing. So that adds validity to the older text. They say the same thing. Yeah, I don't think that we have some of the originals. They could deteriorate over time. We're talking about things written on papyrus paper, or things that people went out to actively destroy. People went out to go. People, including Paul, tried to was tasked to end Christianity, to stop Christianity from taking over by the Jews and by the Romans. you know but we have old texts that verify copies of the new text that say the same thing. So I mean, your argument that we don't have the very original copy, I mean, it doesn't really hold too much water, because we have a whole bunch of copies that do say the same thing, and we have a very old copy that does say the same thing that the newer copies do. So these things, I mean, they all tie together. They all blend together to form a cohesive story that is the same. So And you know,
Yeah, I don't think they do. I don't think they do.
we didn't have the World Wide Web. We didn't have modern texting press. We had we had primitive and very difficult to upkeep um, ways of transcription.
Oh,
So
I agree. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's a number of reasons why you know things may have been added in later. You know, I mean, but
Mhm.
overall the story remains consistent.
Okay. Well, the question wasn't whether the story was consistent. It was basically you sort of saying, how would they have written down something that Jesus did not say? That was your question, and why I brought up the long ending of Mark. So in the long ending of Mark, Jesus says a whole bunch of stuff that obviously he never said because that wasn't in the original. So it isn't about consistency at this point. It's about whether something is in there that says Jesus said something, but he never actually said. And we know that that was added by the early church. So sort of saying, well, it was hard to keep documents, they might have added stuff. No, I agree. I absolutely agree. Because we know they added at least that things that Jesus said. So the problem is without the originals, because we don't have the originals, if we didn't find the earlier manuscripts of Mark dated around 70, we wouldn't know that that was actually something added later. We still would have believed that 9 to 20, Mark 16, 9 to 20, was actually the recording of the time, or you would have believed it. I may not have. But sort of we found these earlier documents without that section, but we don't know what else was added because we don't have the originals. So some other things may have been added, and Bart Ehrman does a really good thing on this, but without the originals, we don't know what was added and what wasn't. We don't know what was documented and what wasn't. But what we do know is that the first earliest manuscript of Mark was not written when Jesus was alive. Now, you may say, hey, but an earlier copy was. We don't know that. We have no idea that's the case. And two, you might say, well, I believe it is. Okay, great.
Yeah.
But that Mark copy was definitely not written when Jesus was alive. And that Mark copy, there are later copies that have stuff added to it that was not in that earliest copy we found. Just like there could have been an earlier copy.
Where did
with
they
a
find
whole
them?
bunch. I don't know. I can probably look it up.
Yeah. So, I mean, what are you trying to? Are you trying to like disprove the death, burial, and resurrection, or what? I mean, these later manuscripts that were added. What is in them? Do
At
they?
the moment, what I'm doing is showing that your claim that the manuscript we have of Mark, the earliest gospel manuscript, you made a claim that it was written when Jesus was alive. And at the moment, I'm kind of just demonstrating that that is demonstrably not true.
Okay, so we don't have the original manuscript. So okay, well
Right.
that's fine. That's fine. You know, I mean that's going to be down to whether you believe or want to have faith that you know in these things. You know, but if you know the history, you could understand why some of these things would have appeared later because, like I said, Christians were being prosecuted,
Well, I
and
don't think
in the
so. I don't think it's down to
you
what
don't
I believe.
you don't
I
think
think
Christians were being prosecuted?
No. When you say it's down to what you believe, it doesn't matter what you believe. Okay,
Okay,
I could believe that the sea is acidic all I want. It doesn't make a difference on whether that is true or not. This is why we have epistemology, right? We want to say, hey, this is the reasons why I believe it, and I have a justified reason for giving that belief, right? Like I can believe all kinds of things. If I say to you, hey, I believe there's a dragon in my room, it doesn't matter whether I believe it or whether you believe it. It matters whether it's actually there. That's what it's down to. It's down to whether it actually happened.
okay.
And
So
what I'm saying is we should apportion that belief to what we have rational justification for. And you're saying, hey, I just believe it on faith. And you can do that. But I don't think that's a good reason.
Okay. So so you believe that evolution does happen though, right?
Wow, that's a topic change, but sure, yeah. I think that evolution.
You believe it, even though there's no scientific. It
So
fails.
you
It
want
fails
to
in science. I mean, that's what
sort of.
we were originally going to talk about evolution.
Well, yeah, sure, Luz. I'm more than happy to, but do you want to leave that there and go to evolution? We're not going to go back to here if things get tough in evolution. We're going to stop that conversation. We're going to go on to evolution and stick with it. Is that right?
I mean, we'll let the conversation flow.
Well, what I want to make sure of is that we're not going to chop around really fast, so we can't. I won't be able to actually make points and have any kind of discussion on it. And I'm not accusing you of doing that. I'm just making sure we're not going to dart around topics too much. Because this was a real, to go from the long ending of Mark into evolution is a real, right turn.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking about belief systems, and everything like that. And I believe the Gospels.
Okay.
Whether or not they were added, at what time they were added, and everything like that. Really, that's not going to change my belief, because, like I said, I believe that I believe and I see that the Bible tells a very coherent story, far greater than just man alone could ever tell. If you go through Old Testament prophecies to New Testament prophecies, from literally Genesis to the death of Jesus, and
okay, so we're going back to the Bible.
I'm just saying. This is my these are my beliefs. So
well, it's fine if we go to evolution, but I want to make sure we don't jump around topics here. That we just stick to a topic. Okay, so I'm fine with that.
All right, so let's switch over to evolution.
Okay, sure, no problem. Okay. And you wanted me on here to evolution. I think you gave a very interesting definition, that sort of change over time, and then you revised it and said it was change.
I just gave you a bullshit answer, because I was gonna go and get my drink.
Well, can I get a real answer then?
So, once again, and I'm not trying to take this out of Kent Hovind's playbook, but are we talking about macro evolution or just evolution in general?
They're the same thing. Macro and micro are just it's like
they're
sort
not
of
the same.
Yeah, it is the same. It's same process.
No, they're not. They're not the same thing.
Yeah, they are.
Then why are they separated in two different categories?
Because we're making a demarcation or a separation, if you will, of when the small changes pile up and make, say, speciation, for instance, or a vast change over time, where it's more of seconds and hours, right? Like when we're marking certain points and sort of saying, well, seconds and hours aren't the same thing. Well, yeah, but there's still time. There's still the entire process. So micro and macro evolution are just different periods within the whole process of evolution. There's no special, process for microevolution as opposed to macroevolution.
Well, would you say microevolution will never make a species become a new species?
No, I totally disagree.
Okay, that was a weird. I don't know how to take it. What do you mean?
Well, I think we've observed speciation quite a few times.
No, okay, so
things change species all the time.
Things species change all the time?
Well, I mean, it's not an uncommon occurrence if you look at the whole space of time that we're looking at. Yeah, speciation does occur. I mean, you realize that 99% of all species have gone extinct, right?
I don't know if that's an accurate number or not.
Yeah, I mean, I can look it up, but I believe it's 99.2 or something. I can't remember the exact amount.
Will a fish evolve into an amphibian?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it can. It depends what evolutionary
can.
pressures it's under. Yeah, sure. Have you ever heard of a mud skipper?
Yeah, I know what a mud skipper. I've seen a mud skipper. Sure.
Yeah, and we find them.
It's a fish.
Yeah, so we find them up trees, sitting on trees
Still a
in the
fish.
open air. Well, so biologically, there isn't really such a thing as a fish, right? A fish is a generalized categorization. There's lobed-finned fishes, there's ray fishes, there's all kinds of different fishes. There's no such thing as just a general fish. I think it was a famous biologist that studied fish all his life, and his conclusion was there isn't such a thing as a fish. But it is a lobed-finned fish that basically has it's changed its air bladder. You know, the thing to make it rise and lower in the water has been changed into a lung. It can breathe air.
When did we observe that change?
What do you mean? When did we observe that change? I'm not sure what you mean by that.
You said that the fish's air bladder changed into lungs or evolved into lungs. When did we observe that?
Well, we have the mud skipper, and the air bladder that would usually be an air bladder in all other lobe-finned fishes is it's not a proper lung, but it is the sort of a proto-lung. It is a sort of lung that can take certain amount of air in and process it. So it's not a real fully developed lung, but it does serve as getting oxygen to the animal while it is out of water. That's why it can sit up on trees and things.
Okay, yeah. There's certain fish that can, stay out of water for a while. So, but we never we're assuming that a fish which has an air bladder evolved a lung. We're assuming that there's no evidence that actually happened. It could have been that mud skipper has just been created that way from the very beginning, and it has always just had that unique feature.
Right. So we find sort of different sort of stages of development of these fish, and you're sort of saying that God made the fish with these different stages of development in order to do what?
I think God created a very diverse creation,
Right.
And I think that there can be changes within their kinds to a certain extent.
Okay, what's a kind? Because I don't know how that describes anything really.
It was funny. I was watching a debate with Aaron Ron, Kent Hovind from like 6 years ago, and it's like you guys still don't get this whole kind thing. Let me ask you this, Mark, and then I got to take a look.
Well, I mean,
I got to take a leak. But anyway, just I got to take a piss. I have a condition. My bladder's like the size of a freaking chestnut. Okay, so, you're struggling with kind. Okay.
I'm not struggling with it. You are. You guys are, because you never provide a solid definition.
Do you know? Can you tell the difference between mankind and animal kind?
You shouldn't have to ask me anything to provide a definition.
Okay. I think there are kinds of snakes. I think there are kinds of birds. I think there are kinds of fish. I think there are kinds of dogs. I think there are kinds of cats. I think there are do you need more of an explanation, or do I need to give you more categories of kinds?
Yeah, I'm really sorry, Lupin, but that was horrible. Like, how do you tell which dogs are in which kind? Like, how do you actually?
Are you gonna have trouble telling a dog from a cat? Are you gonna have trouble telling the kind that, hey, this is a kind of cat, and hey, this is a kind of dog? Do you struggle with that? Then why do you struggle with the idea of kinds? What's the hold up here? But hold that thought, because I do got to take a leak.
Sure.
So if I wasn't mistaken, we were on kinds.
Correct. And you had said that you've got kinds of birds, kind of cats, kind of dogs, and that's you don't understand my problem with it. I guess my problem is it doesn't describe in any way. Like, so when you say kinds of, just say kinds of birds, right? Can you actually describe to me how you separate which kinds of birds are which?
Yeah, there's kind of budgies. There's kind of parrots. There's kinds of toucans. There's kinds of pigeons.
Okay, well that sounds just like sort of names for birds, like groups of birds to me.
Yeah, once we get down to it, we're gonna get into man-made classification of what is a kind, and
Okay, so
that's where it's gonna get really murky because man likes to put things in classifications. But
sure.
it's
Well, I mean,
pretty obvious what are kinds in nature. I mean, the animals know what kinds they are. The animals go and mate and reproduce with their same kinds. They know what it is. They don't need a scientific. They don't need a scientific definition. They don't need a man to classify them to tell them what kind they are. They know instinctively what kind of animal they are. They know instinctively what kind of animal they can breed with. Why is that so hard for you guys to figure out?
No, that's not true, because sort of you will get things like a dog try to have
dog that
no, well,
humps-
Lupin, let me speak. Let me speak. I let you speak. I let you speak, Lupin. I let you speak.
So the dog doesn't know what kind of dog is, or is that dog just horny trying to get a nut off? The dog is horny trying to get a nut off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but still, if it wants to make a baby, it knows it's going to have to find another dog.
Does it?
Yeah.
How do you know that, Lupin? Have you spoken to the dogs? Do you know what motivates them? So you know that the dog goes, okay, I want to make a baby. And this is the sort of thinking that you're using, that you believe that dogs actually consider that they want to make a baby. So they go out and try and find a female dog, because even though they try to have sex with all kinds of things, because their genetic impulses are sort of saying, hey, let's go and have sex, that you're claiming that they have this realization that won't produce a puppy, and so they go and find another dog because they want to produce a puppy. Is that your claim right now?
Yeah, I think a dog knows if it wants to reproduce and if it wants to make a baby puppy, that it's going to try and find another dog. It doesn't care if it's a husky and a chihuahua, or I don't know.
I'd like to see you demonstrate that. I really would. This is a crazy claim that you know what a dog is thinking.
Just go put a group of dogs and a group of goats together, and just see if naturally they'll know what their own kind is. They'll naturally know.
Sometimes they do. You have sort of cross species sexual attempts between animals. I mean, I know that it's not a nice subject, but it does happen. Any farmer will tell you that it does happen.
We'll tell you what happens.
That you have cross species attempts at sex.
That a dog will try and hump the goat?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, they try to hump a leg, and that's a human.
Yeah, I've seen them hump teddy bears and everything like that. Yeah, I mean, living organisms, the majority of them, I'm not sure the percentage, have a sex drive. You
said a lot earlier, and you're kind of interrupting me, Lupin. You're coming in and you're interrupting me, and I want to get to all of your points. So you're not going to be able to put out multiple points and then gish gallop away. Okay, because this is a problem. Yeah, you are. So this sort of kind, and you said, oh, well, it's murky. And the problem is, under your worldview, it shouldn't be murky. If all of these kinds were created independently, it should be very clear which ones are which, because they've been designed like that. It's fine to be murky when you say, hey, everything's connected and we're just iterations that have minor variations leading up to more pronounced variations that lead to different species. It's understandable to be
Can
murky.
Can I pause you there?
No, you can't. So
this is a very long sentence.
It's really not.
You are. I don't even know if you yourself can repeat what you just said.
You want me to?
Yeah.
Okay. So you said that it was very murky, like what is one kind and what isn't. But under your worldview, it shouldn't be murky, because if God created these kinds as is, we shouldn't see the murkiness. In my worldview, under evolution, where everything is interconnected and just small variations leading up to bigger variations, there should be murkiness, because they're all connected and just iterations on the same pattern. But under your worldview, these kinds should be distinct and separate. And what I was going to go on to say was that, so something like eagles, for instance, are all eagles the same kind?
Are all eagles the same kind?
Well, you said like kinds of cats, kinds of dogs, kinds of birds, and I'm like, well, kinds of birds.
You have a bald eagle. I think there's a different type. There's different types of eagles. There's different types of eagles. Sure, there's different species of eagles.
Well, I'm not arguing there's different species of eagles, but you're saying it's the general name like humans call them. Like there's, cat kinds, like and dog kinds kind of thing, and bird kinds. So, do we have a budgie kind and an eagle kind? Or is it that you have different kinds that are species? Like the American bald eagle is a species of eagle, right?
Well,
so
if you look up the definition of species, you'll find that kind is synonymous, or it's included in there. So yeah, we do have different. We do have. So. Yeah. I could look up the definition of species for you. I mean, man, dude, this is like a repeat of like a couple years ago when you were on Proverbs, guys.
Well, I'm really sorry, but you haven't defined what a kind. Like, if you want a species,
the fact that
you define what a species is.
The fact that you are so intellectual, yet you cannot understand what a kind is, or you need a scientific explanation of a kind. Is just, I don't know. I find it kind of intellectually
I can understand.
Dishonest. I think you can tell.
Understand. Well, allow me to address that. Like, I can understand what we use colloquially as a kind, like a kind of dog or a kind of cat. Sure. But the problem is that when you're going into it to say, hey, I'm going to classify these things, which is a part of which kind, it's useless, because we may call, a manta ray a kind of fish, right? But that is so unconnected to, say, a tuna that they're completely different. I don't know how to use kind in any kind of descriptive way.
Right. So yeah, that is the murkiness that man gives us, because man likes to put things in categories. But a stingray will know, in order to make babies and to bring forth, it will have to mate with another type of stingray. Now, does it have to be the exact? I mean, what are you going to go with? Dolphins are known to, hump humans. Like I said,
sure. All kinds of things, actually.
We've established that animals have a sex drive.
Yes, I mean, that's what men
will make plastic devices and fleshlights and have sex with them. I mean, do they know that they're gonna have a baby with that? No, they know that's not a kind of human.
I agree. I agree that animals do not know. Animals don't know what causes babies, Lupin. They don't go, well, I want to procreate, I'm going to find this thing. They just have sex drive. There's no sort of understanding of...
Come on, Mark. That is so intellectually dishonest that you cannot honestly think that. You cannot honestly think that a monkey will go to the goat and try and have a baby.
I don't know what you mean, like having a baby as in having sex with it, attempting to do
Mark,
procreation.
I mean, do I have to define what having a baby is to you?
Well, when you say having a baby, they're not having a baby. Like, is having sex an attempt at procreation?
Having sex, in order to procreate, you need to have you need to have some type
Well,
of sex.
yes, thank you, Lupin. We're all aware of that.
Sometimes I'm not sure about you.
Yeah, I am. Like, but usually what we consider to be an attempt at procreation is sex, like especially with animals. I don't think you're understanding that they don't have the intelligence to go, well, I need to find something of my own species in order to reproduce. They just have sex drives.
No, they have intelligence, Mark. You know they have intelligence.
Really?
You know that they have intelligence to go seek out their own kind. They don't have to they brother, I mean, they do not need somebody to show them what they will just do it naturally out in the open. I mean, if you do not understand this concept and if you really can't succeed this basic principle, then you're either being
I would,
extremely intellectually dishonest or you are just dumb to a point where I don't know if I can help you.
well, I would like you to demonstrate that animals, because you've made this claim that animals understand the difference between their sex drive and procreation, and they go and seek out things for necessarily for procreation. I would like you to demonstrate that claim.
Okay. All right. Well, let me go. Okay.
No. Address that first. Go there. How do you demonstrate that an animal will actually understand that procreation, making babies, as you pointed out, is a thing and goes and seeks that exclusively? Go for it. Demonstrate it.
An animal will go to the same kind of animal in order to reproduce, and that is part of their animal instinct and sex drive. Uh,
Yeah, that's not saying, like, you're not actually addressing it. I'm saying demonstrate that what you have said is actually correct, not just repeat
well,
it
then
again.
I'm gonna have to go and get some animals and show you. I mean, I have to go find some animals and show you.
Go for
Then,
it.
well, then it's not gonna happen today, but I'm pretty sure I can.
So you say that if you get hold of, say, a chimpanzee, you can demonstrate to me that that chimpanzee understands that the birth process occurs and that it knows to seek out another chimpanzee if it wants to give birth to something. That's what
Yeah,
you're going to demonstrate, what it thinks.
yeah, I could do that, but it doesn't have to be as complicated as a chimpanzee. All right, look,
Okay.
if you want me to demonstrate this, go
Yes.
ahead and scan the QR code right there. I will go to PetSmart. I will buy some animals. They don't have to be as complicated as chimpanzees or whatever. I'll go get a gerbil and a hamster, and I will show you that even the gerbil and the hamster will know to go to their same kind. The gerbil will go to the gerbil, and the hamster will go to a hamster in order to breed. So
So,
if you want me to demonstrate that, scan the QR code right there. I'll go ahead and purchase them, and then we'll do an experiment.
well, what you'd have to do is put the gerbil and the hamster together,
Yeah, I'll do
right?
that.
And that
I'll,
they would know that they shouldn't in any way have sex because they won't be able to have children.
I'll buy two of each, and then I'll put them in the same
Uh-huh.
cage.
So how do you demonstrate that it's because instead of biological functions, it's because it knows what childbirth is? A hamster knows what childbirth is, how it works, and that it requires another hamster in order to function. Not only that, but you have to show that that hamster is actually intentionally going out to make a child.
I got distracted by the comments. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry. Why is my
Well,
dog
I'm
humping
saying
my
that
little cousin than Lupin? Because dogs are horny. Sorry,
yeah,
dogs
and
are horny.
it's
Sorry.
that sex drive which provides the
Yeah,
motivation for reproduction.
right. Us as humans, we're a little bit more complex though, because us as humans,
Sure.
we, um, like I
Not
said,
that
can
not
you
that
tell?
much more complex though. I don't think
I'm
it's like a huge
I'm
difference.
I mean, there is. I don't see. I don't. I've never seen. I've never seen a monkey attempt to make a type of uh contraceptive. I've never seen a monkey try to use a
Oh, sure.
condom.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never seen a monkey try to take like a skin or something and try to prevent it from having a kid or a child or a baby monkey. You know,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
never
No,
seen
I
that.
agree.
Have you?
I agree that I agree that monkeys don't understand how childbirth works. I agree with that. Yes.
No, I think they probably understand how childbirth works. I don't think they understand how or why they would need to do preventative childbirth or preventative child. You know.
Yeah, I don't think they understand that how the mechanisms of reproduction actually work. Like that you have semen fertilizing an egg, so you've got to stop the
No,
semen from reaching the egg. I
They
don't
don't
think they
need to.
understand that.
They don't need to.
Well, it sort of sounds like then it's kind of against what you're saying, that they understand that they have to go to another animal of the same kind to reproduce in some way.
They will know that they do need to go to the same kind.
I don't know how you show that.
I mean, they're still here and they're still doing it till this day. They're still reproducing till this day. They still go and
Well,
find other monkeys till this day. I mean, you can have you can
well,
have
I agree that they act on their sex drive, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they understand that, hey, I've got to procreate with others in order to have a child. I don't think that's necessarily the case.
well, I mean, dude, I think you're just honestly being, like I said, either intellectually dishonest or just arrogant to a
Also,
point just to argue.
how am I being intellectually dishonest?
If you are telling me that you don't think a monkey knows or can figure out that it has to go with another monkey in order to produce a baby, then I think you're being intellectually dishonest. I really do.
No, no, I think that what you've done is you've made the claim that monkeys understand, or an animal understands, that it needs to pair up with another animal in order to create a child. And I think that you haven't demonstrated that in any way, shape, or form. All you've demonstrated is that, hey, they have sex drive and they do hook up with members of their own species, but they also hook up with members that aren't their own species as well. So you haven't demonstrated anything of the sort. You've just claimed it. And so without an actual demonstration that this is what they are thinking, it is a baseless claim. It is claiming something that you can't possibly prove. And I'm just
Okay.
pointing that out.
So I have to go. I have to go probe. I got to go probe a monkey brain. I got to go and analyze what the monkey is thinking. I have to put that in a readable format or a computable format to show me what the monkey is thinking whenever it says, "Okay, I need to go and make a baby."
Well, I think that, you know, there's also sort of jellyfish and coral that don't have brains, and they also reproduce kind of
Well, they
thing,
produce, I
right?
think, asexually. I believe.
I'm not sure about jellyfish. I think coral does, but I'm not sure about jellyfish, to be honest with you.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure off the top of my head either. But I mean, hey, we do have the internet. Where I mean, we. Mark, by the way, let me ask you this real quick. Do you have any degree or any kind of education? What's your education in biology, or what's your highest
No,
level of
no.
education?
Well, I'm in network communications, so distributed systems and computers, IT basically. So yeah, that's my background.
So no biology. You're armchair
Okay.
internet biologist.
And what's your background in education?
Oh, I'm the same. Some college.
Some college. Okay. I'm not sure what that's got to do with the conversation, but sure.
No, I don't know. You a lot of people. I see a lot of people, including you, attack Ken Hovind on his credibility just based on his degree, and I'm just trying to see. Well, do you have a degree in biology or anything like that, or are you just on the same? Is it the same level playing field?
Well, see, the thing is, I'm not claiming to be a doctor. That's the thing. So the reason why people attack Kent Hovind over his, well, I'll call it very generously a doctorate, is because it was obtained from a paper mill that is not accredited anywhere. So Ian Chen, for instance, went out and got a doctorate from one of these places and did so very, very easily. And he'll admit, hey, his is a paper mill-based degree and he shouldn't have the right to call himself a doctor. But he did it to point out that you can easily obtain one of these degrees. If you actually look at the dissertation that was lodged, and I have a copy of it, it is not a dissertation that any educational institution would accept. It is a fake degree that was given out by some place that has no right to call anybody a doctor. So the difference is I'm not going around saying, hey, I'm a doctor, trust me, bro. I'm not doing that. So
Ken Hovind doesn't care if you call him doctor or not. But I mean,
yeah, I realize that, but he still calls himself doctor and claims to have a doctorate in I think it's philosophy.
If Ian got doctorates and he wants to be considered a doctor, then I mean, if he got the credentials, whether it was from paper mill or not, I mean, whatever.
That's the thing. It's not the credentials, because a doctor has to be accredited. Like you have to get it from an accredited university in order for you to be an actual doctor. So when you go around saying, oh, well, I've got this from, this unaccredited place that just basically set up and then started, giving pieces of paper saying you are a doctor, it would be like me getting a fairy expert license, like it doesn't mean anything. You can just give it out. And you can get those if you're not aware. You can get like a doctorate in fairy knowledge kind of thing, and it doesn't mean anything because it's not accredited.
Yeah, have fun trying to get a job with a degree in fairyology.
Well, I mean, try getting a degree when you've got a doctorate that isn't real. You can do it. That's the thing. If you convince everybody that it's real and valid, you can trick them into basically supporting you if you tell them what they want to hear, which is what Kent Hovind does. But he's not a real doctor, while maintaining this front that he's a doctor and an expert on the subject when he doesn't even understand how evolution works.
Right. I hear you say that a lot of time that we don't. So since I don't know how evolution works, and Ken Hovind doesn't know how evolution works, can you tell me how evolution works?
Yeah, sure. So integrated synthesis is basically the current model of evolution, and it uses a number of mechanisms to produce change over time, change in allele frequency over time. So we included this natural selection, genetic drift. There's a whole bunch of other mechanisms like endosymbiosis. There's a whole load of mechanisms at play here. Sexual selection. There is also, I'm forgetting the last one. There's also another mechanism. I can't bring it to mind right now. But all of these work in concert to produce variation in a species. When that variation separates into distinct organisms that are separated either geographically or separated genetically, do not breed anymore and produce offspring, they are then considered different species. But the whole thing hinges on there being a long, unbroken genetic code through all of these organisms that can be traced back. Like, for instance, the mitochondrial DNA can be traced back because that's only given by the mother, of course, because that resides in the X chromosome. So it's really, I mean, that's an overview of it, but it's a very, very complex subject that we're talking about.
Right. Some would say a fairy tale. Um,
No,
have we ever experienced a animal changing into another kind of animal?
an animal changing into another kind of animal. Well,
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure what you mean by that
Okay.
because
Have we ever observed a monkey evolving into a man? Do you believe that?
yes,
You do believe that man and a
yes.
monkey man evolved from monkeys?
Well, they don't evolve out of something. Okay, this is a common misconception that I've got to clear up right here. So, like for instance, when we came to chordata, right, the group of animals that have vertebrae, right, chordata, we're still in chordata. We're still eukaryotes. We're still
Okay, so
now.
a
It depends what.
eukaryote.
No, Lupin, let me finish. Let me finish. No, it depends whether you're talking about old world monkeys or new world monkeys, because we didn't come from new
Oh,
world monkeys, only old world monkeys. But we don't leave that classification. That's how cladistics works. We basically are still those things, and they just get added to. It like the what you're sort of saying is, but I get you, right? And yes, we have seen the fossil record supporting that, from Australopithecus to Homo habilis to Homo afarensis to all of these fossils.
do you believe this chart?
I think it's more complex than that chart, but yes.
So you believe that over millions of years, billions of years, we started off as monkeys, and then we got a little bit more upright, and then
Well,
uh,
millions, yeah.
millions. Okay, so you believe that, but we've never observed this, and we will never be able to observe this.
Well, what by observe, if you sort of say, well, we see the evidence in the fossil record, if that's observation, then that's
There's no
observation.
evidence in the fossil record. There is none.
Sure, there is.
All you have in the fossil record are bones and extinct animals. That's it.
Well, when you're saying extinct animals, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
What type of animals were around during the Cretaceous area?
Cretaceous?
Cretaceous, whatever. Tomato.
Yeah, I mean, there was a wide variety of animals. Megafauna is what you're talking about, I believe.
Were there human? Were there humans? Were there monkeys?
Cretaceous, no, no
No.
humans.
So we found a preserved, I believe it's an indention or a specimen. You can find them
Mhm.
that is dated to the Cretaceous area or to the Cretaceous time period, where it has a dinosaur footprint. I can't remember, but it has a dinosaur and a human like footprint.
Can
And
you get me a link for it or something? Because I find that
yeah,
highly dubious.
actually, I could give you a whole video on it. It was actually a new one produced by Trey Smith. Let me see.
I
It's
don't know
actually,
who that is.
he's a young Earth creationist. Pretty interesting stuff.
Well, then I definitely want a paper on it.
Well, I'll give you a video. I'm not going to give you a paper.
Well, I mean, videos don't mean much. I can produce a video that says Lupin is a, ape or something. It doesn't mean that you're going to believe it, right?
Some people might, but I mean, there's the link right there if you ever want to look at it, and it has the research on it as well. But yeah,
It has the research on it as well. Things that should not exist.
yeah,
Okay.
it's actually very good. I
Uh,
think you should watch it.
well, I mean, I really. Is this the Paluxy River one?
Not sure. I can't
Okay.
remember.
Well, I
I
mean, you're
watched.
basically saying, hey, some guy found a thing and says it is this thing. And so trust me, bro, I don't see that as an
Well,
argument. That's not an argument.
if it was carbon dated to the Cretaceous period or found in the
Impossible.
if it was found in the Cretaceous, exactly, it is impossible. Hence the title. These things
No,
shouldn't
no,
exist.
no, it's impossible for something to be dated, carbon dated. I mean, that was 150 million years ago was the Cretaceous. Like the range that you can only carbon date stuff is only up to like 55,000 years. How would you possibly date something at 150 million years with carbon
I don't
dating?
know. You guys are the ones that constantly are changing numbers.
Yeah, no, I just don't believe you that it's been carbon dated to the Cretaceous. I don't believe you. You're going to have to show that.
Okay, maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe it was found in the Cretaceous layer.
Okay.
That may have been it. Maybe it was carbon dated. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was both. I'm not sure. Like I said, I just briefly went over that video. Pretty interesting. So so yeah, so did I mean, if you believe in this fairy tale, I mean that's fine. If you want to think that we came from this, which by the way, like now even evolutionists at this point throw all this out the window and say that this is bogus. You know, like even the steps of evolution, like most
Oh yeah, no. What they say is this is an inaccurate representation of it because it isn't. You know, these changes so quickly. Like this is what I said when you said, "Do you believe this?" And I said, "Well, I think it's a inaccurate representation." But yes, what it's there to do is to show people who may not have an understanding of evolution. It's a representation. So you're making a reification fallacy. Okay, you're confusing the map for the place. So you're looking at this and saying, hey, this ape-like creature gave birth to a upright standing creature, which gave birth to a more upright standing creature. And that's not what it's there to show. What actually we're saying is that these are just snapshots at certain points between millions of generations, right? Like so many generations. And that's why they're saying it's inaccurate. It's because it's a child's model of it. It's just a simple representation so that people can sort of understand what they're talking about. It's not meant to be taken as accurate.
That a monkey over millions or billions or however many years you want uh, have turned into what we are now.
Well, yeah, sure. Basically, after millions of generations, sure.
Okay, let's see. Let me see.
Or at least hundreds of thousands of generations. You know, like a lot of generations. It's not.
Ask him if they transform or if one species gives birth to another. What is that? Do they transform or is it based off the species giving birth to a different or to another?
I've already explained this. Like, there's minor sort of differences between you and your offspring or the animal and its offspring when they reach a point where either geographically or for other reasons, for genetic reasons, they do not naturally interbreed anymore, then they're considered to be a different species. But the murkiness in what is a species is completely understandable when you do have a relationship between all creatures. And I'm not using relationship as in, you know, I'm related to my brother kind of thing. I'm using it as in a genetic link to that creature. So it does become murky. It's why that tigers and, you know, lions can still produce fertile offspring, but they generally don't do naturally. So we consider them different species. But yeah, it is murky when you do have this connectivity. What shouldn't be murky is if all these things were created as different kinds. And then what should happen is that those different kinds should be absolutely separate from one another. But that's not what we find. We find, for instance, that we are more genetically similar to chimpanzees than chimpanzees are to any other ape. And if so, these apes were created as kinds and we were created as a kind, I don't know why we're more genetically related to chimpanzees. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Right. So just because we share genetic traits to a lot of things, we share genetic traits to fruits, to insects, to other mammals, to fish. You think that we're related?
Well, it's not just genetic traits; it's also physiological traits. For instance, like the recurrent laryngeal nerve, for instance, that
Do you,
goes sort of.
do you think that we're related to fish?
What do you mean by related? Because I don't think we're related as in like, for instance, I might say I'm not related to you, Lupin, right?
Okay.
You're not
Do you,
you're not part of my family. No, to answer the
are we the
question,
same? Are we the same kind of? Are we the same kind of thing?
yeah, no, I'm not going to answer until you actually answer my clarifying question.
Go ahead.
I'm saying what version, because there's a conflation here between related, because we use it in the sense that my brother is related to me, but Lupin is not related to me. That's how we usually use it, to explain what is connected in a familial way. But do you mean the technical term of related as in shares genetic code, or do you mean the colloquial way, which is that is a member of your family? How are you using that word?
I would say I'm using it as: are we the same kind of creation? Are we the same kind?
Are we the
Are we
same
the
type? I
same?
don't know what a kind is.
Are we? You don't know what a kind is.
There is no outlined classification that anyone has given me to how to separate the different kind of dog kinds or cat kinds or eagle kinds.
You
So,
cannot tell the difference between mankind and animal kind.
oh, I can, but I mean, animal kind isn't a thing. We're part of animal kind. We are an animal. We meet all the criteria for that scientifically.
Because man decided to classify us as a mammal.
Well, a mammal is a subcategory of
We're
animal.
warm blooded, have hair, blah blah blah.
Yeah, all subcategories of an animal, yes. I mean, I don't know many plants that are warm-blooded. I don't know if you can find one for me.
I'm not gonna try and look for one. It'd be interesting. I don't know if there is an animal or a plant that is warm blooded.
Well, mammals aren't considered to be
plants don't really have blood.
Well, they have sap. You know, I grant you they don't have blood, but they do have sap. But look, when you're sort of saying, hey, mammals are animals that suckle their young. Placental mammals are ones that, you know, have things. So you have mammals that are not euthydarians. They're not placental mammals, right? You have marsupials, for instance. They suckle their young, but they don't have a placenta. And we know why they don't have a placenta. And we know why we do. And we're aware of it.
Why don't they have placentas?
Because they diverged from the animal lineage, from the mammal lineage, before the euthydarians, I think it is, were infected with a virus that allowed them to produce a placenta.
So virus caused them to have placentas?
No, marsupials don't have placentas. They have a pouch system.
Oh,
so if you're familiar with marsupials, they have a
kangaroos, sugar
koalas.
gliders.
Yeah, marsupials. Yeah. So what basically they have is a pouch that the embryo.
Do they not have placentas?
Into. No.
No. Let me see. Let me see if that's actually. Let's see. Have a placenta. You're incorrect. Marsupials do have placentas.
Do they?
Yeah. Hold on. I'm not sharing. My bad. So, I mean, are you just talking out your neck, or are you just kind of?
No. I thought that their system was completely different. In marsupials, the yolk sac forms the definitive choroleo-vitelline placenta. Okay. But they certainly don't have the same system that we do.
Yeah, maybe they were created. They have a different creation problem. You know, they were created different.
Why?
You know what? That's a brilliant question, Mark. Why?
Uh-huh.
Why?
Yep.
why are we here, Mark? Why are we here? Let me just start closing this out. I'm probably gonna
No,
close
no,
this
no,
out.
no, 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 no,
We've been
no.
going for three
Absolutely
hours.
not.
You're
Absolutely
not.
not.
You're
Absolutely
not.
not.
We can have a
No, no, no.
conversation.
You're not dodging this, Lupin. You're not dodging
Okay.
this. Like, why
What's your
have we
question? But
found?
let
Why
me just
have
tell you
we
right now.
found?
Let me just tell you right now. You're not gonna tell me when I'm gonna continue my program or
Well,
stop.
if you want to run, you can run. That's fine.
No,
I
I'm
don't
not gonna
care.
run. But I've been going on for 3 hours, and like I said, we can have a conversation again. But
Well, what I'm asking is, why have we found the remains of a virus that has allowed us to give birth in the way that we do, while marsupials lack that virus coding in them, and monotremes don't even have the placental stuff there. They give birth through eggs. Monotremes, echidnas, platypus.
right. What's the question again? Like what is your question?
Why
Why?
have we found the remains of a virus in the genetic code that allows us to have the placental development that we have, but things like marsupials and monotremes lack that coding of that virus in there? Why is that?
Because they give birth in a different type of way, so they may not need that.
They give birth in a different type of way, so they may not need that.
Correct. Yes, echidnas and platypuses. How do they give birth, Mark?
Through laying eggs.
Exactly. How do marsupials give birth?
A pouch structure.
No, they don't give birth through the pouch structure.
Well, no, but they do have a pouch
They
structure
they
there.
de- they develop they develop as a they develop after they're born in the pouch. They suckle in the pouch. That's where the nipples are in kangaroos and other marsupials, where they would find the nipples to suckle to get the milk from their parents. So they give birth in different ways, just like snakes give birth in
Yes.
different ways. Reptiles give birth in different ways. So perhaps they don't need that virus in order to produce, and maybe humans do, or other animals do.
So you're saying that the marsupials have segments of viruses in common with us. The monotremes have sections of viruses in common with us, but they're lacking the ones to let them be able to give birth in the way that we do and still use eggs, which is more common with reptiles and birds. But all of that is just coincidence.
No, I think that they were created that way.
They were created with viruses in them.
No, God created them to produce the way that they produce.
Okay, how do you demonstrate that when we see clear evidence of long terminal repeats, the viral scars from the virus inserting code into their DNA?
I don't know if that's true. You're making a statement that's far beyond my knowledge, and I would have to research to see if that's even true. Because you made the claim that marsupials don't have placentas, which just through a simple Google search, I proved that is incorrect. So you're making a claim that is very complex. And like I said, I'm not a biologist. I don't have a degree in biology. I do not study biology to this extent, so I cannot even trust
Okay.
your statement. You know.
Well, I mean, we call the placenta, but it's not the same as ours. I will grant you, I'm just looking it up now. It's a short-lived placenta that it only nourishes their young for a few days. It's not the same as the placenta which develops in the uterus with humans and other placental mammals, and that's why they're called placental mammals. And all of that is because of a virus. And we know it's a virus because we've observed it as a virus. And this whole idea that, hey, that's not true because I can't look it up. I mean, I don't know what to say to that.
Well, no, I'm just saying that the claim that you're making is a very complex one, and I don't have the answer right now, and like I said, after I've been speaking for about 3 hours, sometimes I just reach a conversational limit, and then it's like you want me to research something as complex as this virus, and fact check this statement and everything like that. There comes a point where I am no longer interested in that
Okay.
at this point in time. Like I said, we could have this conversation at a different time, and I could look into it a little bit
Well,
further.
could I have a final word before we go? Then I think that that's only fair if you want to cut it short.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so really, what I'm trying to get at is that really we have two different approaches to how we demonstrate what it is that we believe, how we look at what we believe. So I'm sort of presenting evidence that we have these remnants of viruses, that we have these fossil records, that we can put together all of these things through observation testing. We can sort of make inferences about the way that things developed into this nested hierarchy we call the tree of life. On the opposing side, we have Lupin basically saying, well, I don't believe it because I don't believe it on faith. And that's all. We have a mountain of evidence for evolution, but when we get to the evidence against evolution, there is literally nothing but a video of a footprint in order to try and discount it. And, looking at the video quickly, I haven't had a deep look into it, but it doesn't even look very real. I don't know who has evaluated this thing, what kind of system it's been through, whether it's a forgery. I've got no idea because I'm not being given a paper or some kind of scientific process to look into it. I'm being given a YouTube video. You may as well give me a YouTube video on Bigfoot. And I understand it's your faith that this didn't happen. But as I pointed out, faith is not a good reason for believing anything. And while I'm presenting evidence and actual reasons to believe this stuff, you literally have presented nothing, Lupin.
I don't think that you provided any. I don't think that you provided any evidence whatsoever. I think you've provided theories and things that you even don't fully understand, and you're claiming them as facts. And as far as there being a mountain of evidence for evolution to be true, I think quite the contrary. I think that we the more that we advance in science and advance in uh, being able to see the complexities of cells, the more that we're able uh, to uh, what is it called whenever we deconstructed the genome, or you know we've been able to break down like the genome sequence or whatever. I forget what it's called. um, we find that it is so much far advanced, and that in order for that to even take place, there has to be a thinking, functional brain to put those things in place. You have to have some kind of um, mastermind, a brain, um, to a brain, or a thinking, something had to set these things in place. And yes, I do go by faith. I think that God did this, and I think that you are trying to find God using a scientific method, which you never find God using a scientific method. You'll find traces of how he did things, but you'll never find God through a scientific method. And I mean, you were bringing up things. Uh, you say that just that I believe, but I mean, there are many things that have been found in evolution to be false. There's been things like Lucy that has been proven to be fraudulent. There's been Piltdown Man that's been proven to be fraudulent. There's been Nebraska Man that's been proven to be fraudulent. So there are many things in evolution that are that have been proven fraudulent, and I think that that should be something to consider when making a claim as definitive or a claim as spectacular that we came from an ape or a monkey. When it fails every level of the scientific theory. We've never observed it. We can't test it, and it's not repeatable. It's not. Evolution fails all three criteria of the scientific method. So I don't think evolution is scientific at all. I think it is theoretical. I think that it is. You could look at it and say, yeah, I think that could have happened. But the truth is, there is no evidence. There is no proof, and all there is just conjecture and theory at best. Whenever it comes to evolution. Also, I want to ask you this, Mark.
Well, I thought they were closing arguments. I mean, yours was long, but whatever. I thought they were closing arguments. Do you want to start a new topic now?
If Christianity was proven to be true, would you become a Christian?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it depends. I mean, when you're saying it's proven to be true, if you're talking about sort of what Christians say that it is, then maybe, yeah. So if it's good for the world and good for humanity and good for all these things, and it's also true, then yeah, probably. But if it's the God as described in the Old Testament, then that's a horrible person. I'm not sure that I would be on board with, killing children and massacring the world and all of that kind of stuff. I really think that's sort of objectionable. So it depends on what version of Christianity, for instance, we show to be true. I'm not sure how that would work at all.
Okay. Christianity would be believing in the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, and following.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it could,
Christ's commandments. Do you think Christianity is Do you think Christianity is a net positive or net negative to society?
I think it's a net negative. Yeah.
In what way? Why do you think that?
Where do you start? The Crusades. You've got the
that was
you have the Christians going to. Well, they're Christians, dude.
It's debatable.
It's really not. Like, it's only people that want to leave their sort of stuff that they did behind, like Protestantism, and by relation evangelicalism came out of the Catholic Church. They are inextricably linked because that is the origin of it. Like the Reformation. Are you aware of the Reformation?
Yeah, Martin Luther's.
Right.
And his declaration that the Pope is the Antichrist, and they're part of their
so
right.
What I'm wondering is how you trace back to the early church of Christianity from the around after the death of Jesus Christ, presumably when it was the early church, and you trace back to that, and you skip the Catholic Church, which is the direct link in between them that set itself up in Europe.
Well, I would say that you're looking at it from a very humanistic perspective. The early church, the original church, is Christ, is Jesus Christ, the resurrected Christ. So I don't think the church is a building or a man-made construct. The church is Jesus Christ. And Christ gave us some commands. Christ gave us some things, and the two major commandments. Do you know what the two major commandments of Christ are? The most important ones.
That varies from person to person, but generally
Really?
it's believe in salvation and love thy neighbor, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, it's believe in Christ with all your heart, soul, and spirit, mind, soul, and spirit, the body, soul, and spirit. That's a little bit of variation, and then and to also love your neighbor, which is also almost pretty much just as important as the first. To love to love your fellow neighbor, which is, if you're
Yeah,
taking
and the
neighbor, that
Catholic
would be,
Church would absolutely agree with that. So I'm not sure how they're not Christian.
well, you brought up the Crusades, but I mean,
Sure.
man does corrupt God's perfect law.
Right, but we're not talking about whether we're talking about do you think that Christianity has been a net benefit? And I've gone through the Crusades. Okay, for something more relevant, the people going in and convincing the African people that there's witches and them killing lots of women, kind of thing. The witch burnings, the horrendous stuff that has happened in the name of Christianity, the persecutions of people, the bigotry, the horrible stuff that they're doing to people just because they disagree how they live their lives. The way that these churches have spun off of one another, like the Church of the Latter-day Saints being just insanely profitable. The Mormon Church spun off the evangelical movement as well, and that's incredibly damaging. I wouldn't go so far to say as they're Christian. I know you would disagree, but they definitely came from Christianity. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they even use Jesus and Yahweh as their figures in their what I would call mythology. So stuff like that. And the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the most rich organization in the world today. Like, it absolutely came from evangelical Christianity. So no, I don't think it's been a net positive. I think it's done an insane amount of harm.
Wow, that's an interesting take. I think evolution has done far more harm by reducing man down to just an animal.
What do you mean?
That's what evolution does. It devalues mankind to just another animal, and some of us are more evolved than others, and you'll find the same justification why people killed the Aboriginals. Because they found them less evolved. There's a number of
that's
damaging.
not true.
Yeah, it is true.
No, they thought they had a divine right to the land. That is the doctrine of discovery.
And that the Aboriginals were less evolved. They saw them as beasts, as less desirable.
Yeah, I mean they didn't see them as humans. I get
Correct.
that. But that's not necessarily due to evolution. They just thought that they were not worthy of thingo. But you have these doctrine of discovery.
They considered them less than human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not what evolution says. Evolution says that everybody is as evolved as everybody else. There's no more or less evolved in evolution. It's just everything is working within it. So just because, but they didn't do that because of evolution. They did it because they had a right to the land. They had a God-given right to the land. It was a religious, political, and legal justification for the seizure of land by Christians.
Correct. Yeah. A corrupted human take on
Sure.
to make a justification for doing the atrocious things that they did.
Sure.
And
but
evolution was a part of it, because evolution justified that these people were less evolved, and therefore.
No. Look, evolution doesn't say what you should do or shouldn't do or have anything to do with it. It'd be like saying, hey, gravity is bad because, people fall off cliffs and die, kind of thing. Evolution just is. It just is a process. And if you're sort of suggesting that evolution sort of says, well, kill everybody, kind of thing, and then you'll be the fittest. No, that's not what it says.
That's survival.
Well, cooperation within species is far more effective than predating on your own species. That is highly detrimental in evolution. So when you talk about that, it really does show what you've gotten wrong about evolution. That it has to be this survival of the fittest. You've got to destroy everybody around you. No, that is detrimental to an organism. I mean, we're talking about
Christianity says that. It says to love your neighbor. It says to literally
yeah,
to love your neighbor. So I
yeah,
mean,
and Christians literally love their neighbors while killing them.
yeah, man is corrupt.
Yeah, but the problem is they still go out and do these things. That's the problem. Like, it doesn't stop that. In fact, it encourages it. The whole point of the doctrine of discovery, it was only made possible because they believed that God had given them the lands of the Americas, say, for instance, the conquistadors who went into America and slaughtered the Mayans and took their gold and took everything from them. They were Christians who basically said, repent or die, because that is what God has commanded. Like, this whole thing about Christians, oh, you love your neighbors. Yeah, but they also believe that, hey, if you don't convert to Christianity, there are dire consequences for you. And they've enforced that with musket and sword in the past. So I don't.
I mean, sometimes they didn't even give them that chance. Sometimes they just killed them on sight because they.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, man is evil. Man is corrupt. But
well,
it's not.
I don't think man is evil. I don't think there's an inherent evil to man. I don't think there's an inherent good to man. We are just what we are.
You don't think there's an inherent good or evil to man?
No. I think
No.
actions are good and evil. I don't think man is inherently good and inherently evil. And there's a dialectic between the two. I think Noam Chomsky once said we're all capable of being gas chamber attendants and saints. We're all capable of both. But what we decide to do is what makes us what is good and evil. I mean, he didn't say that, but that's what I think. I think that we can do amazing things and we can also do terrible things. And it is in our choices what makes us good and evil.
Walter, what I think Jesus would say is stop killing each other.
Yeah, and I agree. But why?
Because we're all created in the image of God.
Okay.
We all
well,
have
I mean, we can agree on that. But what I'm saying, right? What I believe is that we are on a planet sitting in space, the most hostile environment ever. It's like two ants on a leaf in the river, right? They're in a very, very hostile situation, and they've decided to fight over the leaf. It's insane, right? It makes no sense. Evolution says that in order to preserve our species, the best thing we can do is all cooperate. And that's why I'm a humanist. And that's why I believe that we shouldn't be flying drones over Syria, because at the end of the day, it's harmful to our own survival. So, I don't need you to believe in evolution. I'm fine with you saying, hey, we should stop the killing. The problem is that in my experience, Christians justify all kinds of horrible behavior by doing it and then asking for forgiveness afterwards. And that's a problem, because they will do these things and either A, say, oh, well, they're not real Christians, which is the no true Scotsman fallacy. That's not, they're Christians. Or they will say, well, yeah, we did that, but we're forgiven for it, so it's okay.
Christianity wasn't spread by sword, my friend. It really wasn't.
Ask the Mayans and the Aztecs that, ask the people that were on the receiving end of the conquistadors in South America, whether, it was spread by the sword or not. I think they will have a remarkably different opinion on that. Ask the people of the Native Americans in America whether they were converted to Christianity by peaceful means, or whether their children were taken away and put in schools and raised to be Christian. Ask them whether...
Were those tribes not killing each other before Christians came across the shore?
They did have some wars, yeah. Does that mean you take their children away?
A lot
okay,
of
so you're justifying the slaughter of a culture because they were having disputes between them. Is that what you're doing right now?
No, I'm not justifying anything of that. That's just how history is played out.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And it was done by Christians.
I mean, it's done by a lot of ideologies. It's done by a lot of
doctrine
ideologies.
Of discovery was sort of the Christian doctrine of the time. And a lot of the schools that they were put into were Christian schools in order to raise them in Christianity and convert them from their heathen ways.
Okay. So, yeah. So would you be asking me if I see anything wrong with that?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Probably not. So
No.
slaughtering people, taking their children and raising them in Christians is perfectly moral to you.
I think there was conquest. There was imperialism. All of these things they happen for a reason, and things have played out. But overall, I think Christianity has had a completely net positive impact on society. And I think that you'll find the further that you deviate from Christianity, the more that you will find chaos and acts of evil abound. And I think that you could prove that scientifically. You could look around the world and you could see that.
Well, statistically, it is analysed that Christians are more generous than other people, that they give more to charities than other people. But the problem there is that the charities they give to are Christian charities exclusively. When they've actually done studies on who gives more to people that are not the same, it's actually non-believers that give more to. They don't care if you're Christian or not. They don't care if you're Islam or whatever your religion is or not. It's called the out group. And they give more to the out group. And a lot of the charity that Christians are credited for is towards their own church, which goes back into their own community. So really what the studies have found is that Christians will give more, but they'll only give more to their own people, where others, especially atheists, will give more to people that aren't their own community. They will give more to, Muslims and Christians and things like that. So I think that sort of saying, hey, they're more generous is a bit of there's some sort of complexities in there. And I'm not saying
there's a lot of complexities. There's a lot of complexities.
I'm not saying that all Christians are bad or all Christians are this or all Christians are that. What I'm saying is that there's been some atrocious things that Christians have done in the name of God, thinking they were right, all throughout history, just glaringly obvious examples of it. They are absolutely sure that they're right. Yet we still have Christians going, oh, well, I'm absolutely right about what God wants and I want to do X. And it's just a horrible thing to see this pattern repeated over and over and over, especially when, ministers come out with apologies for having this position or that position. And then, they're doing it again kind of thing. Like it's actually really awful. But the thing that we hear over and over is that they're forgiven for it. They will be forgiven for it. So it's okay. It's fine. And the whole idea that, oh, well, it happened in the past. It was imperialism. That literally is presentism, right? Do you know what presentism is?
I don't deal much in isms. Go ahead. I'll let you in.
Okay, so presentism is like historians, for instance, they avoid using presentism, which says, we should avoid judging what people were doing back then because our morals are different and more developed. We have learnt from our mistakes kind of thing. And we have a different view on things that they did back there. Like racism, for instance, was everywhere at one point, right? It was really horrible.
It's still around today.
Well, absolutely. But we don't judge people back then harshly because they are the product of their time. We do today because we know full well that's horrible now. We absolutely have learnt that causes horrible things to happen in our societies. So we do judge people who are racist today. But that is moral relativism. It's basically saying, well, the people back then, they had different morals then. We have different morals now. And we use the ones we use now, and they didn't know about the morals today. But so you're using moral relativity to justify what Christians did in the past. If they're Christians and God says that is wrong, then it should be wrong. Or if it was wrong according to God. And if it wasn't wrong back then according to God, then I have questions about how God says that that's okay to do to all of those poor people back then.
So, Mark, you talk a lot. You're very verbose as a friend of mine. Is also.
Well, I mean, I can restate it in maybe
No,
a simpler way.
it's okay. It's okay. Now, like I said, sometimes after I talk after a few hours, like my brain just kind of drifts off a little bit. Um. So yeah, it was just kind of it's just kind of interesting. I was just wondering, what your thoughts are on Christianity and whether or not it was a net positive. The fact that you think that it's a net negative is kind of I'm still stuck back there. If that gives you any idea of where my mind's at.
Well, and at the end of the day, I think that anything that isn't true, we really should reject. I think that
So
believing
would you reject evolution if it was proven to be true or proven to be false?
Oh, of course, of course. If you could come up with one scientifically tested and verified evidence that showed that evolution is actually incorrect, all you'd need to do is find a fossil of a bird in the Cretaceous era or something like that, or like you said, the footprint in the Cretaceous era of a human. If we can verify that is actually a human footprint, scientifically, and have an expert actually say, yeah, it would invalidate the theory of evolution. The problem is that people will never do that. These people never actually submit this thing for scientific testing. They never
you're
actually.
saying that there's agendas on both sides? Do you think that Christians have an agenda to push to make Christianity seem as the ultimate truth? And do you,
Well, I don't think that's true of all Christians. No,
no,
absolutely not.
I'm not asking you think that's true of all Christians, but I'm asking you, do you think that is a
Um,
possibility?
it's hard to say what people think. I think there are some Christians that take advantage of people's willingness to believe in order to get money out of them. I think there are some people doing that out there.
I
I
think the
also think
same thing for evolution. Do you think the same thing for evolution?
I don't think that there's anybody making up any evidence like scientific evidence in order to fool the thing, because
Like
when it
Nebraska
does,
Man and Piltdown Man, you don't think that those
those
were
were ages ago, like
well,
ages ago, and I have to say that they got found out and the people completely discredited. That's generally why they don't just make up information for money, because they know that other people with a speciality in that field is going to look at it and they're going to go, hey, that's a fraud. And then their entire career is over. The people that did those things never worked in science again. They were absolutely tossed out. It's like a doctor, if they, sort of give a snake oil cure and sort of promote it as this miracle cure, they're never going to be able to stand up as a doctor again. They're thrown out of the industry. Exact
like
same things happen with evolutionary biologists. If you're making claims that can't be substantiated, then you're in for a hard ride through science, and they know it.
like Lyle and the in embryology.
Well, Lyle, and that was centuries ago for a start. That was like 200 years ago.
They were
But
still
anyway,
forgeries.
no, they weren't. They were hand drawings in order to show what they looked like, and they were pretty accurate. And
No.
the updated textbooks had photographs rather than drawings in them to illustrate the same point. So how do you explain that?
No, they look completely different.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
I have to use the restroom. And like I said, guys, we've lost most of our audience. They've probably gone into the Discord to just go and hate watch this, or just not even want to give my channel any points to the algorithm, which is whatever. I mean, man is gonna do what man does. But if you do want to support the channel like this, like I said, you just Scan that, and like I said, I'll go and get a couple gerbils and a hamster, and we'll do a test and see if they can find each other and figure out who they need to get with and mate. It won't take that much money to do that. So, anyway,
Yeah, so you were talking about Haeckel, basically.
yeah, Haeckel.
Do you want to see some pictures?
Yeah, sure. You can show me some pictures. Also, Mark, I feel like this channel has been marred and said that I treat people unfairly. Do you feel like you've been treated unfairly during this time, or?
Minor things you've talked over a bit. That's okay. It happens. It happens. No, I don't think I've been treated unfairly. I don't.
That's good. That's good. I don't want to feel like I treat people unfairly, and I really try not to. But there are times when people tend to go on other people's show and think that they can run that show, and I wouldn't do that to another person and try and run their show, or go against their rule set, because I understand it's their show. So I give people respect to their shows, and I try and abide by their rules. And I think you've done well too. So.
Okay, so I'm just pointing out those are the actual photos.
Okay, so yeah, they don't look like anything like
Really?
Haeckel's drawings. No.
Oh yeah. So upon Haeckel, basically those illustrations, they're not accurate. We know that now. Haeckel, I think, said it was the artist that put them in, kind of thing. I'm not sure if that's
wasn't
true.
he the artist?
Sorry?
Wasn't he the artist?
No, he had somebody else draw them, basically.
Okay.
He wasn't the artist. But, at the end of the day, he's responsible for it, and he was called out for it as well.
Sure.
He was called out for it. But what he was trying to illustrate is actually true, that these embryos, especially the mammal embryos, look very, very similar when they are at their first stages of formation. You can see the cat, the bat, and the human. Possum's incredibly similar. The chicken's incredibly similar, and that's not even a mammal. That's an avid. Snake, which is a reptile, is incredibly similar to the others. You do get some, as you go into the very, very different ones, like the snails and fish and stuff, they do look a bit dissimilar, but the similarity is astounding. And humans definitely have a tail in that embryonic period.
It's not. I wouldn't say that that's a tail.
It is a tail.
That is the development of the spine.
But the legs develop a bit differently than that. Like, okay, I mean, you can say it's not a tail all you want. It's just the spine with the legs coming out.
And you said okay. What else? You said what else? The cat and the bat look similar.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the word cat and bat look similar, but I don't think their embryonic stages look anything similar.
Really?
Yeah, no. I don't. Especially from stage 1 to the stage 3.
Definitely. No, but it was never about stage 2 and 3, the intermediate and late. It's about this early stage, the embryo, right? The early embryo, not the late embryo, early larva. It was never about
even the
stages of development.
Even the early embryos of all of these look dramatically different from each other.
I don't know what you're looking at then.
I mean, I'm looking at lamprey, which looks like a baby lamprey, to be honest with you. A dog.
Yeah, as I said, when you get down to the fish, they look dissimilar. But I said mammals look similar, dude. Like, seriously.
Do you know what a gar is?
It's a fish.
Okay, so those look completely different.
Really?
The gar has that big old yolk. I would imagine that'd be a yolk sac, wouldn't it?
If you remove that, it looks like almost identical to the dogfish.
Oh, if you remove it, though. Okay, so you got to remove it.
Yeah, it's just the embryonic sac, dude.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, the lampreys don't have that. Doesn't seem like it.
Oh, that's just because they've removed it in that picture. That's all.
They removed it in this picture?
Yeah, this is just somebody's compiled this from different
Why
shots
was
we
it?
had. So
Why did they
they didn't.
remove the embryonic
You
section
do
lamprey?
you do realize that this is just photos that we have taken over time, like X-rays that we've taken over time. We haven't actually lined these all up in a row on a table or something and taken a picture for comparison. They're just standard photos or X-rays of these things that we've gotten over time. They're not like they weren't made to show the similarities between them. It's just somebody's put them together and say, hey, if you take the embryonic sac away, they look really, really similar. And they seem to mirror the evolutionary development that we see over time as they progress through to the human actually has a tailbone that shrinks back up. And occasionally you get like a error that it won't shrink, and then that baby is born with essentially a tail.
Yeah, like from Shallow Hal.
I don't know that.
You never seen the movie Shallow Hal? He's got like
I don't think so. No.
He's got like a little tailbone and he can wiggle around.
Okay. I mean, it's called an atavism. It's basically a throwback to genetics that were in the past. Like, for instance, chicken having teeth. Sometimes, very, very rarely, they're born with actual teeth, and birds don't have teeth.
Can you show me an image of that, a chicken with teeth?
Okay, sure.
And not just keratin that is jaded and jagged.
I'll see if I can find it.
Actual teeth, which would be proteins and enamel.
Atavism. Well, I mean, I'm not sure that's what classifies as teeth.
Teeth are bone.
I'm not sure if I can. But I mean, if you look up atavisms, you should be able to find it.
Atavisms?
Yeah, atavisms.
Let's just see. Atavism. Let's see.
Because birds have inactive genetics for teeth.
Whenever I look up up atavism, this is what I get. Why isn't it sharing? Oh, because I'm still sharing yours.
Yeah, those are atavisms. Yep.
What is an atavism?
It's
I like this one right here. This one is nice. The fish woman.
Yeah, that's on DeviantArt, dude. Like seriously, you've got to learn to distinguish art from scientific stuff.
That looks legit to me.
So it's basically the reactivation of code that we have, but is not turned on.
It's just like
like
a mutation or a failure in the.
No, we do have that code within us. We found the genetic code for those things, like for the sort of I mean, there's.
Would you consider it a mutation or a defect?
No, it's an atavism. It's an atavism.
Is that like a defect in development?
No, it's basically that we have the code for all kinds of structures that appeared evolutionarily before. And sometimes those are turned on instead of turned off. And they will carry out the function as if we had that thing. They will grow whatever it is that we used to have. And that is an atavism.
Okay. All right, well, interesting. All right. Tell you what, Ben, I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. Okay. I think we had a decent conversation. Like I said, I wasn't sure if you're going to show up or not, so I'm glad you did, though. And next time, if there is a next time, if you want to do this again, like I said, I had some research done that shows a lot of the flaws in evolution. I just didn't even pull it up because I got into one conversation, and then we just kind of melded into this one. So, um, if you
Well, I
want
mean, you
to,
wanted to do this, so I don't know why you wouldn't be prepared for it.
well, like I said, I wasn't sure when you were going to show up and whatever. So I'm just glad you did show up because a lot of people, tend to flake. So I'm glad you did.
Okay.
And now I have an idea of what's a good time to have a show where you are able to join.
Well, I mean, maybe next time you come to my channel.
Possibly, yeah. I could do that as long as your channels are as long as your channel's fair. You don't mess with the audio or you know
Why would I do that?
because well, I mean, I'm not saying that you would do that, but I know a lot of channels that do that just to make it hard for a certain person to speak or make a point, just so they could remain the dominant figure in an argument. It's a very very unhonest way to do it, but I know people that do that.
Well, I mean, I could suspect the same thing of you.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't do that. But usually I can
And
tell.
neither do I.
Yeah, and I'll take your word for it. Like I said, I don't find you much. I wouldn't say I would find you like so much as like a liar or dishonest. I just think some of your arguments are a little bit dishonest, but those are kind of separate categories. You know,
Um,
yeah,
I
it's
don't know how my arguments would be dishonest. I'm not sure.
like your. I'll give you an example. Just
Okay.
the struggle that you have with the definition of a kind or what is a kind, and the fact that you like I don't know what a kind is, and it's just like, do you really not know what a kind is? Do
Yeah.
you really not know what a kind is, or are
Yeah.
you just trying to say you don't know what a kind is, just trying to make the conversation more difficult than it needs to be?
No, I understand what a kind is colloquially, but as far as looking at biology, what I consider a kind to be in a colloquial sense is useless. It's useless, like because I can say, hey, a kind of that's a kind of exercise equipment, that's a kind of this, that's a kind of that, but we're not using that to distinguish between how these creatures are related, if at all, in your worldview, how these what actually formed from variation, even if you believe in microevolution, variation within a species, and what has not variation within a species. Because there's no way to classify, is all of the eagles in the same kind, right? Like, is a kind of bird an eagle? If not, then is a kind of bird a American bald eagle? And then how does that work? Is the North American sort of crested eagle also a different kind? I don't know.
So you don't know? Okay, so there, like I said, there's kinds of birds, and then there's a subcategory of kinds of eagles, and then you're trying to delineate where is the difference between these kinds.
Yeah, but when you say a kind, it can't be the category, which is a kind, and then a subcategory as well, which is also a kind. So when you say that is one kind, I don't know whether you're talking about eagle kind or North American bald eagle kind. So what I'm trying to tell you is that for separating out what is related to one another, which is really what we're getting at, because you're sort of, oh, these were created as individual, like orchid stuff, right? That this was created as an individual kind, as one tree, and then this over here was created as an individual kind that goes out to one tree. When you say, oh, well, there's a kind, you may be talking about the entire tree, or you might be talking about just a branch of the tree. I don't know, because you've defined kind as all eagles, and you've defined kind as just all American bald eagles. And this is what I'm trying to get across to you. It doesn't actually give me any sense of where the delineation is between the different created trees in your view.
So do you see the delineation between a mankind and animal kind? Do you see a clear delineation there, or do you not see that?
Well, I don't think there is. Well, yeah, I mean, I get that. There's humans as a species, or you're calling that humankind, and all of the rest of animalia, what I would call animalia, which humans are inside of, are a different kind, right? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, I think there's a delineation between man and animal.
So is it that there was
I don't think that they're in the same category.
So is it that there is a tree for humans that all has this variation? Like you might have some people with Africa and darker skin, and you might have somebody in.
I do think that yes, I do believe in that. I do think
Right.
that.
There's
Yeah, sure.
variation within there. Yeah. And then there's all of animal kind, which has variation in that, which made all of the different animals. Is that what we're saying?
No, I think that those are split up into different branches as well. That's I think the biggest issue, because I think that you, in your worldview, think that everything came from a single cell organism and evolved
Well,
into.
We're not talking
everything.
about my worldview. We're not talking about my worldview. We're talking about yours.
Okay. Well, in mine, I could accept that there are family trees and branches and different branches for different kinds of animals. But I think that they are all separate. I do not think that you can combine all those branches and bring them down to one single
Okay, so then
denominator.
there's not a humankind and an animal kind. There's
Yes,
a humankind and different animal kinds. Because when you say this is a kind, right, you're talking about the relatedness between these branches of just internal differences. Like the humankind, we're all the same kind, and we have small differences, kind of thing. So when you apply the same word, kind, to animals, what we do when we have the same word is we put the same properties on it. So if you're saying that a human kind is all related organisms with variation between them, then when you use the same word for all animals, then you're saying it is the same organism with variation within them.
No,
So really,
I'm saying all humankind. With humankind, you will always end up with a human, like a human being. With animal kinds, you will end up with different types of animals. I don't think there are different types of human kinds. I think we are all the same human kind.
I get that, but you're saying it's
Mankind.
humankind and animal kind, and now it's different types of animal kind. So now you're breaking it down even further.
Sure, there are different types of animal kinds. There's not different types of mankind. There's only one type of mankind.
In science, you can't use the same word for a group and also a subcategory within that group. Like we don't say, hey, there's, it's 500 kilometers to this town, and, but also kilometers also means meters. So there is also, kilometers of this. We use a different term for that. So that's why we have the kingdom, order, genus, family, phylum, species. That's why we have that classification, because we can't, if we're using the same word, it gets really confusing about what we're talking about. Because when you say kind, then you could mean all of animals, or you could mean just American bald eagles. And I don't know which one you're talking about. So we can't do that. That's why I'm confused.
I just find it funny. I just find it funny that you find it so confusing, yet it's just so apparent to me that it's so easy to tell different kinds from different kinds. I mean, I don't
Do you
understand.
mean all of animal kind, or do you mean down to a bald eagle species kind? I don't
I
know
think
which one you mean.
I think there's kinds of I think there's kinds of eagles. I think there's kinds of, like I said. I mean, they're kinds, and then yeah, you could break them into subcategories. That's what humans do. But
Yeah, but we have
I
a
think
different name for the subcategory. That's the difference, Lupin.
with mankind, I don't think you find that. I think mankind stays in the same category always.
Yeah, I agree. It's the same species because we don't use kind, we use species, which, yeah, there's a bit of fuzziness there for sure, but generally we have a classification for species. So humans are all the same species. That is absolutely true. But then when we have groups like Animalia or Chordata or Mammalia, for instance, they are clearly classified into what makes this group part of this group and what makes that subcategory part of that subcategory. So there isn't this, well, you say kind, and it could mean or all of animals, or it could mean an American bald eagle segment. There's no rhyme or reason to it. No one can, it seems to be that your definition of kind is changing depending on how you want it to mean.
I don't think it's that complicated, but you left it open for a decent discussion at a later time, though. What you just said, that you recognize that there's kind of like a little bit of a fuzzy line there. So
Oh, sure, absolutely, it's what we
you
should
know,
expect. Absolutely, yeah.
I'm glad that you realize that there's a difference between mankind and animal kind. Yes.
Well, I no, I don't think there
Okay.
is.
Yeah, all right.
Like I what I'm saying is they acknowledge that you think that humans are in one of these kinds and then animal is in another of these kinds because that's what you said. I acknowledge that that's what you think, but
Yeah.
I don't classify things like that. I think that humans are in the same classification as animals because we have all the traits that we associate with animals. And more than that, we have all the traits we associate with chordata, animals with a backbone, and we have all the traits for mammalia, animals with a backbone that suckle their young. We have all the traits for the hominids, which is sort of primates that can stand on their feet. We have all of these traits, and they're all very, very clearly distinguished where they lie, and that's why I have such a problem following kinds, because it can mean just about anything from family, actually from kingdom to species. So I don't know how you manage to get that to make sense.
Well, I would say that that's through the Holy Spirit in Christ, my man. I mean, he definitely set us apart from animals, and I don't think you have to look too far to see that humankind is different from every single type of animal kind out there. And like I said, if you can't see that, then I mean, maybe you can try and complicate it or muddy the water, or try and fit it in your worldview in some way. But I think there becomes a point in time where you realize, okay, even though I'm pretty similar to an orangutan or some type of ape or whatever, there's something fundamentally different between a human being and every other animal being, whatever it is and however close it is. If you don't see that, and like I said, that's going to come down to a soul, spirit, a soul and spirit. And I know you don't even believe in a soul or spirit.
No, I
Essentially.
don't. So when you find one,
So,
bring it to me.
well, I mean,
I mean,
whenever you can
it's not
bring
under
me,
the table. I don't know what you're talking about. So if you can present one,
whenever you can present me a physical idea, then I mean,
but
yeah.
that's conceptual. I don't think ideas are real.
You don't think ideas are real? Okay.
No, they're conceptual. They are concepts. They're things within our imagination to model. Like I can have a conception of Underpants Man, the superhero. It doesn't make him real, Lupin. What are you talking about?
Okay. Well, I know that
Isn't that an idea?
I know that my soul and spirit are real.
Well, isn't that an idea?
It's a thought.
Well, yeah, it's
Sure,
an
yeah,
idea. Yeah,
yeah.
it's an idea.
It's an idea, but you
Do you
can't.
think it's real?
Can you physically manifest that?
Can you physically manifest a soul?
Well, Christ did, but you know, you got to take that on belief. So,
I mean, yeah, if we can't physically manifest a soul, why shouldn't I lump it in with the conceptual things that we can't manifest physically? I don't see the difference.
yeah, I mean, you have a point. You have a point. Yeah, this is just a part of philosophy, and this is why we have these discussions. It's just human philosophy and trying to understand the way that we think. And trying to understand reality.
All right, well, I'll let you wrap up your show. I think we've sort of extended
Yeah.
enough. I get the feeling. Yeah. No
No.
worries. Well, take care. All the best. Thanks for letting me come on, and hopefully we can have another conversation because it has been quite civil. It has been quite good. So yeah, I'm happy to have another conversation. That's not a problem.
Cool, man. Hopefully, I'm not the next one crucified on your thumbnail, but if it does happen, I wouldn't be I wouldn't be surprised. But hey,
it depends. I mean, if you're going to go around, if you're ever sort of being convicted by bench jury of DV, then maybe you'll make it. But I usually don't do that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's okay, man. It's all right. I understand it. It's shock factor. Trust me, I'm not triggered by it. I just I understand. It's the internet, man. We do silly things.
Oh, I don't think it's silly. I think that it's making a guy who's a bully and a criminal very, very mad, and that I find hilarious. I find that actually hilarious. And it was good fun. It was just a bit of good fun, to be honest with you. But I don't see why I should respect a man who's constantly calling everybody stupid and stuff. Like I don't know why. So a lot of the things that Hovind does are, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that, and then he'll go out and do it. Like he'll complain about ad hominems and then call you stupid kind of thing. Like it's not right. It's hypocritical or Hovind critical, maybe. I don't know how you'd describe it, but that kind of stuff, I don't see why I should respect somebody that doesn't respect me. Why I'd do that, I'm not sure. But you seem to respect me, and I appreciate that. So I don't, as long as we can respect one another. If you don't respect me, if you go out and talk a lot of shit, you might find yourself on a funny thumbnail, because bullies that try to smack me down, I generally laugh at them because, it's their pride, it's their ego, it's their, they've got to think themselves this wonderful person, and I just laugh at them. That's my response.
If I do talk mess about you, it's not gonna be behind your back.
Yeah. I mean, but look at somebody like Bolin, who went on and called me, a PDF file and all kinds of crap, right? He called me all kinds of things. He doesn't have my respect because he can't stand up and say it to my face. He's got to go on other channels and run his mouth, and I don't respect that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for other people, No,
that's fair. I was just using that as an example of where you might find yourself on a thumbnail or something like that. Yeah. I don't think NDE will change my mind. I think that the accounts of NDE have been so varied and so many different things, Mr. Anderson. I think that plus it is near-death experience. It isn't even death experience, because nobody's survived total brain death and come back from it. It hasn't happened. Well, unless you're counting your belief in Jesus, it hasn't happened. We don't think that's a thing. So
that's good. I mean, again, another topic. I'm not going to get into that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sorry. My apologies. All right. Well, no. I'll take myself out the way so I don't trigger another argument. All right. Well, take care, Lupin. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Man.